Still learning rookie mistakes. What's going on, everybody? Ciao, ragazzi. Glad everybody's here. Appreciate everybody stopping by for this conversation. Um, yeah, there's going to be some difficult questions that need to be asked about this club. Obviously, everybody's seen Napoli knocked out of the Coppa Italia. Como making the semifinal for the first time in 40 years. And big up to them. Big up to Cesc Fabregas. He's doing an amazing job uh, with Como, and it should be applauded what he's doing. And I will big him up for that. But we need to jump into this because started off a good day. Went for a little walk in the morning. Had my cappuccino this morning, and yet I still see Antonio Conte as the manager of this club. And just not feeling this, man. I'm just not feeling this. And I think that there's some serious questions that need to be asked. And we'll start off with this topic for this one. But before we jump into it, I just want to say big up to everybody that's in the chat. Big up Lynch, big up Ryan, big up Quaja, big up everybody that's watching. I appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, we're going to jump into this, man. So we're going to start off with this. Napoli is indeed in a crisis. Yes, there has been a crazy amount of injuries that's going on with the club. That can't be denied. But overall, at the end of the day, the problem is that the crisis has been constructed by Conte. There's no other way around it, and Conte needs to leave this club. There were talks yesterday from the sporting director, Giovanni Manna, talking about there needs to be a revolution within the club. And I am 100% in agreement with that. And there needs to be a lot of conversations about players leaving, reinvigorating the team with some youth, and just having to do a massive haul over again with the team, much like we did in the wintertime of the 2019 going into 2020. I just think that overall, this team needs to take a long, hard look at themselves in the mirror, and so does Aurelio De Laurentiis. But at the end of the day, this is coming down to Conte, and for me, this is what needs to happen. Conte needs to leave. People are going to say, "Oh, he won you a Scudetto last year. He should be at least given till the end of the season." No, he shouldn't. No, he shouldn't. Let's all be honest about something here. Antonio Conte is the master at winning when he doesn't have anything else to do when it comes to going after cups or going after Europe, because we all know he's dog shit in the Champions League, as we saw this season with Napoli. And I just feel that Antonio Conte needs to leave this team. For those that don't know, at the beginning of the season, Antonio Conte held Napoli hostage at the end of last season coming into the summer. He told Napoli, he told Aurelio De Laurentiis, he told Giovanni Manna, he told Eduardo De Laurentiis, and the rest of the board that runs the club that they need to prove themselves to him to why he should be staying at Napoli, as far as they need to prove to him that they will spend the money. And they did. They went out and got players that he wanted. He was the one that wanted Kevin De Bruyne. He was the one that wanted to retain Romelu Lukaku. He was the one that coincidentally asked for Noah Long, but then never wanted to talk to him and never wanted to play him up until the injury crisis. Even more so, the guy that I've been saying that should have never played for this damn team is Matteo Politano. I mean, I don't know how you're able to get what you got out of Scott McTominay last season. You bring in Kevin De Bruyne, but yet your master plan for Napoli to go and try to win back-to-back Scudettos for the first time in club's history is to make Matteo Politano the play creator. It's absolutely nonsense. Absolute nonsense is what this man has done. And it's just been absolute, if I'm being quite honest with you, and you guys know I speak my mind, it's been bullshit. It's been nothing short of bullshit. Conte, how you choose to get Kevin De Bruyne and you want to play Scott McTominay as a left winger was absolute nonsense. And to be honest with you guys, Kevin De Bruyne, as uncomfortable as this is going to be, Kevin De Bruyne is a big reason why we are in this situation. Because Kevin De Bruyne, the last 3 years, has not been able to play a full season for Manchester City. He's had massive injuries where he's been out for a long period of time, and it's all been leg injuries. And the fact that Conte just looked at it and said, well, you know what, he's coming to Italy. It's an easier league and everything else. You still got to be able to move around and stay healthy. And the problem is he isn't. And he's 35 years old. Kevin De Bruyne is the highest paid player in Napoli history. A club that is barely worth 600 million euros is paying a guy 220,000 euros a week. I'm sorry. It's not excusable. It's not excusable. Kevin De Bruyne is part of the larger problem that we need to figure out what we're going to do as far as our next step forward. And to be honest with you, wherever we go as far as the next step forward, whoever we recruit, Antonio Conte cannot be the manager for this team anymore. I'm sorry, he can't. I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate you getting a Scudetto and making it a 2 Scudettes in 3 years by you adding to what Spalletti has done in order to get to the overall final destination, which is to win more Scudettos and grow this great club. But the problem is, at the end of the day, is you're past your limit, man. You're expired milk at this point, Conte, and you have to leave the club. You got the team that you wanted, and you have figured out how to get the team that you wanted. You cried, bitched, and moaned and whined in the offseason, and you still figured out a way how to shoot yourself in the foot. So for me, there's no other talking point as far as Conte. The question now for Napoli is, as I've put here, that a revolution is needed. But the bigger question is, how do you go about this new change, and how do you go about this direction? You know, the problem here at the end of the day is that we are at a crossroads right now of what we need to figure out we're going to do with the club. Do we go and get an experienced manager who comes in, straightens the situation out? Obviously, players need to leave. For me, Lukaku, Politano, and Kevin De Bruyne are the first three that need to get the fuck out of this club. They need to get the fuck out of this club. The question you have to go with then is, how do you go about doing it? Do you take a chance? You keep Zambo Anguissa, you keep Stanislav Lobotka, you keep Scott McTominay, you keep Rahmani, and you keep the rest of the team that's in place. Leonardo Spinazzola for me can stay, but Gutierrez needs to step up and fill that position. And for me, Noah Lang, I don't think Galatasaray will buy him permanently, but if they do, okay, we move and we go on. But we have put ourselves in a position now where we have to make some massive decisions because of Conte's stupidity as far as player recruitment and everything else. So the question then is, do you keep some of these older players, add some quick additions, some quick fixes, and go again for the Scudetto next year? Or do you do what Napoli's been known to do, where you take a huge haul over, sell players, take a year to pivot for the players to gel to see what you may need to add to the team, and then go on from there? And for me, I don't know at that point. To this question, big up Ryan. How about Cesc? Here's the problem with Cesc Fabregas. While he has been absolutely spectacular at Como, the problem with Cesc is that Cesc has been giving a crazy amount of money for a club the size of Como, and he has been able to do good, and their scouting department's been fantastic. I don't know if Cesc is ready to step up to a big team like that. I would think that Cesc needs to go on to maybe a Fiorentina, a Atalanta, a Lazio, one of those clubs before he goes to Napoli. And it's no disrespect being thrown at Cesc, but for me, I think at the end of the day, Cesc Fabregas needs to do a little bit more, especially since we're seeing now that Real Madrid, from what we're hearing in Italy, has already invoked the buyback clause, and that Nico Paz will be returning to Real Madrid next season. We'll have to see how Cesc Fabregas is going to maneuver around that. But for me, I think it's more of a situation of me personally, if you go down the route of you want to keep the experienced players and take another crack at the Scudetto, I think there's only one guy that you should call, and that's Roberto Mancini. Mancini, granted, he's in Qatar. He took over Al Sadd, but Al Sadd, he brought them back up from 5th place back into 1st place already, and he's only had the job since November. And he could go on and potentially win the title with Al Sadd. And if he does that, he's already back into proving that he's winning trophies again at the club level. Whether you want to discredit him or not for being in that league, it doesn't matter. For me, I think Roberto Mancini, if you're going to keep some of the older core of this last cycle of players that we've had and run it back to try to go back and win the Scudetto again, I think that is the situation. Then you have to go get a manager like him. If you decide to say, you know what, we're going to go down with the youth, we're going to rebuild a cycle, we're going to keep some of these players like a Scott McTominay, who I hope stays. I hope Buongiorno can get his head out of his ass, but I think it's just a product of the entire team's in bad form. It's not just him. I think then you have to look at who is available and who the best guys are for the job. And in my personal opinion, it comes down to either Roberto De Zerbi, Vincenzo Italiano, or maybe even Rafa Palladino at Atalanta, because what he's done since taking over Atalanta has been absolutely massive. He's been just absolutely massive with what he's done to get Atalanta back on playing form. So for me, I think it comes down to that type of situation when you're looking at the fact that it's down to that. So for me, no, I think it's just a situation. I think it's just a situation of you have to make a decision of what direction this club is going to go in. So let me jump into the chat here real quick. Let me jump into the chat here real quick for Sess. Mr. Pods, big up my guy every single time. Always appreciate you stopping by. Gianni Politano must be Conte's favorite. You know what the funny thing about this, Mr. Pods, is Conte kicked Politano out of Inter when he took over the team. Politano was kicked out of Inter in the 2019-2020 season when Conte took them over. Politano was brought in by Spalletti when Spalletti was at Inter for 2 years. And Politano, as he has been on par every single season outside of the one-off season with Gattuso as the manager for the full season for Napoli, he's shit. He's been shit. Everybody knows this. Politano's calling card was the fact that him and Domenico Berardi played a double false nine under Eusebio Di Francesco Sassuolo team that was able to miraculously get Europe for one season, and they were able to stay in Serie A and play decent football under Eusebio Di Francesco. But for me, I just think it's a situation where Politano is not that good. He's a mid-level club player at best. He got lucky that he was a part of the Napoli team that won a Coppa Italia and then eventually went on to go win a Scudetto. And at that point, 2 Scudettos in 3 years. So for me, Politano, I don't know what Conte's whole vibe with Politano is, because Conte kicked Politano out halfway through the year because he knew he was shit with Inter. So I don't think it's that. Eddie Howe, I'm sorry, man. Eddie Howe cannot come to Napoli. I'm sorry. I don't want to take a chance on Eddie Howe. I'm not buying the bullshit with Newcastle. I think a better quality manager goes into Newcastle. Newcastle's fighting more consistently for the top 4 instead of this on-off. Now, granted, Eddie Howe's been given the short end of the stick with how corrupt PSR is and handicapping the next teams trying to jump into the fight for Champions League positions every year, like Aston Villa, like Everton as well, when we've seen both of those teams get money put in. But I just think it's a situation where Eddie Howe's not good enough. I don't think Eddie Howe is that good of a manager, if I'm being quite honest with you. But that's my personal opinion. I think Eddie Howe, he's probably going to get sacked from Newcastle this year. I think Eddie Howe would need to take a step back, maybe go to another club in England. Maybe he could branch out. He could go to a different team. Maybe he could come to Italy. We'll see with what happens with some of the teams in Italy, but I don't think Eddie Howe's good enough to come to Napoli right now, if I'm being quite honest with you. Do you think the Italian scout? No, it's unrelated because Michele was there that built the team with Conte this year. Again, this is why I say all the screw-ups this year for Napoli is on Conte. Michele, both Aurelio De Laurentiis and his son Eduardo, and Giovanni Manna all worked with Antonio Conte to convince him to stay. And Conte had a huge part of the say of who he wanted as players. And Michele did the best to scout players that could fit what he needed, and he got what he wanted. So I don't think Michele's got any blame for this, because they did, the board and everybody bowed down to the overall rule of Conte, and it's come back and bit us in the ass. So I don't think it's got anything to do with Michele. Would a Premier League manager help Napoli? I mean, I don't prescribe to this that a guy coming from the Premier League is going to make a huge difference at Napoli as far as the managerial side. Players, it also depends because a player could go from the Premier League and show up in Italy and not do good. We've seen that as well. I mean, obviously everybody has been raving about Scott McTominay since he came over because Scott McTominay has raised his game 5 levels from where it was at Manchester United. So for me, I just don't know. If I'm looking at the Premier League as far as managers, there's some good managers potentially there. But for me, the only guy that I'm looking at that could maybe come to Napoli, depending what the situation is I would look at Unai Emery. But again, Unai Emery, for me, I don't know if I want to give Unai Emery the squad that there is right now with the older players and take a chance at trying to win a Scudetto, or if I'd rather build a younger core of players that Emery can coach properly, as we've seen throughout the times at his different teams. So Emery would definitely be a manager that I would look at. Pep's not going to come to Napoli because we don't have the bankroll that he requires as a manager. Pep, I think for me, I think Pep will take a sabbatical once he leaves Manchester City. And honestly, the way that they're able to get away with everything, I think Pep is destined for Juventus, in my personal opinion, unless he goes to Inter or maybe AC Milan. But I just don't think AC Milan will have the finances to give Pep what he wants. Inter maybe, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm just not convinced right now by any Premier League manager for me. Like I said, I'm more of the thing that I want to go with a proven manager like Roberto Mancini in the Serie A. I think Roberto Mancini, like I said, if he comes away and ends up winning the Qatari League with Al Sadd from picking them up from 5th place and goes on to winning the season, I'd rather, if I'm going to keep the older players for one more year, to try to swing a third Scudetto, in 5 years, then I'm going to go down the line of Roberto Mancini. I got this feeling that De Zerbi will fail at Napoli. No, I don't think so. I think De Zerbi, the problem with De Zerbi is when you look at the situation at Marseille, is Marseille just doesn't have the financial capabilities that they've been bullshitting about for eons. I mean, let's be honest here. Marseille has been saying that their owners have had money, and the best thing that they were putting together was Dimitri Payet as a false nine with semi-decent players around him for years. It never went to anything. And then all of a sudden, they got some money this year to give to De Zerbi because De Zerbi dragged them back into the Champions League. For me, I think Roberto De Zerbi, if he was given a team with much better quality players than what he's been used to during his time, whether it be at Sassuolo, Shakhtar Donetsk, Benevento, or Brighton, I think De Zerbi could be fighting for the Scudetto. But also, that's the gamble that you're going to have to take on one of these younger managers if you go down the path of we're going to do a complete revolution, a new cycle of players, and see where we go. But again, this is not England. De Zerbi's not going to come to Napoli and get a 5-year contract unless he's winning trophies along the way there. And now that Napoli's gotten a taste of the Scudetto again, the Scudetto is mandatory. So if De Zerbi was to come to Napoli, the longest he would get is 3 years. But again, the first 2, he'd get 1 year to where he'd see the team is. The second year, you're going to have to walk away with at least a Coppa Italia to keep your job. Otherwise, you're going to have to be doing some serious business in the Champions League. And I just don't think that De Zerbi, as far as with Napoli is concerned, nobody's going to give you a project like that of what you're seeing in England. I just don't see it happening with Napoli. Hey, Waglio. Grazie, signore. Grazie, signore. Tutto a posto. Tutto a posto. Tutto a posto. Big up, doctor. Big up the doc every single time. Big up the doc every single time. My guy. My guy. Would Arsenal win the city? I mean, yeah, they should. They have a much stronger team than a lot of these other teams, but I mean, I don't know. Inter's starting to hit form right now, and maybe Kivu's going to go on a run to disprove everybody. I mean, for me, I had Napoli winning the Scudetto at the beginning of the year because I thought they did the most. Inter right now, I mean, Kivu's doing some great man management, and we're going to see with where he goes. They're starting to pick up form. I think, as I had Shane Gooner on my first stream, we both said Inter's starting to pick up form, or it looks like they may start to walk the league again this year. And I really think And I really think that that Inter may not be stopped. I mean, Milan's got one loss the whole year, and they're still trailing behind Inter Milan. And Inter's players. They know what it takes to go on and win a Scudetto. So for me, I don't know. I don't know. It would be a good toss up between Arsenal and Inter Milan to see them play in the Scudetto. We may see them in the Champions League. We don't know. We have to wait till the round of 16 draw comes in, and we could potentially run back into Inter. And I'll be honest with you, the rate that Inter's starting to fire, I don't know if Inter starts to fire the way that I've seen this team been able to play, and they get back up to full strength. Inter's going to give everything Arsenal that they're asking for, especially if Mikel is going to try to shoehorn his son Martin Odegaard back into the team, which for me, and we're going to get into the Arsenal talk here in a bit, I just don't think that these guys should be playing for I don't think him and some other players should ever be playing for Arsenal again. But that'll be coming back in. That'll be coming back into it if Conte does get sacked. For me, I think, again, as I said, it comes down to what this club is going to decide to do. If you decide, first of all, non-negotiable, Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, and Politano all have to go at the end of this year. They all have to go. Alex Moret, the backup goalkeeper, he needs to go as well. Milinkovic-Savic, I think, has done enough this year to where he's shown that he deserves the starting job. He's better. He's a better overall goalkeeper than Moret is, and it's funny to say that because Moret is a two-time Scudetto-winning goalkeeper, but it's more so been about the team that he's been with. For me, there's a lot of players that we should be moving on from. And I mean, again, we've made some bad choices. I mean, look, he scored for Nottingham Forest, and I hope Nottingham Forest keep him. You know, a part of me wants to see Nottingham Forest stay in the Premier League because I want them to permanently sign Lorenzo Luca because he's a fucking bum too. That cost us a shit ton of money. And we've already, I guess, announced that we're going to keep Rasmus Højlund. Now, Højlund's been good this year for us, but again, Højlund and Lucas cost us an extra 80 million euros coming into the season. We're already down 80 million because of Conte's stupidity. So for me, that's even more of a reason why Conte needs to get sacked, because he's made us make some very stupid financial decisions when poor financial decisions has not been the track record of this club, especially when you look at De Laurentiis. De Laurentiis is a business owner. The way he looks at Napoli, very rarely does Napoli go into the red every year. He normally runs a profit every single year with this club, as well as having the team do well. So for me, even more of a reason why Conte needs to go. Does Napoli have any world-class players? You know, that terminology gets thrown around so much. I don't think there's that many world-class players in the world, to be quite honest with you, in nowadays time of football. I think Napoli has some very good players. I think Amir Rahmani has been one of the best center backs in Italy is Amir Rahmani. And I think if Buongiorno was up to par. Buongiorno is a very good player. Spinazzola in his day was a great player, but the problem is that he blew his leg out in the Euros and hasn't been the same player since then when Italy won the Euros. McTominay is playing very well, but I'm not going to say McTominay is world class. I'd probably say the two best players on Napoli for me is probably going to be Stanislav Lobotka and Zambo Anguissa. Those two guys have been the main two guys as far as the foundation to where Napoli went and took the pivot from the 2019-2020 season into what we've done recently as far as winning the Scudetto and finally closing the gap with us and Juve, Inter, and Milan as far as that going on. Everybody hates Juventus because Juventus is the biggest team, bro. Juventus is the Real Madrid of Italy. I mean, let's be honest here. And Calciopoli, I mean, here's the thing. Calciopoli is everybody throws around, is it because of Calciopoli or not? Calciopoli is just the recent time. Juventus has had a history of fixing games throughout the years. I mean, in the 80s, in the early 80s, Juventus was rigging games. And they had just went through a domination period of the 70s that really set them apart from the great Inter team of the 60s and the great Milan team of the 60s and in and out of the 70s. So Juventus, everybody knows Juventus cheats. Everybody knows Juventus cheats. The when you're a publicly traded company on the Italian stock and you're protected by the government because you could affect the Italian economy, and the fact that the Agnelli family, the people who own Fiat, because of the fact that they own these teams and they own these companies, they're untouchable. They're too big to fail. So that's another reason why everybody hates Juventus, because of that. Brother, Martin Odegaard couldn't play for my fucking high school team here in Chicago. Martin Odegaard couldn't play for my high school team right now in Chicago. He's absolutely garbage. He's absolutely garbage. He should not be playing for Arsenal ever again. We're going to get into this Arsenal chat. We're going to get into the Arsenal talk, and I think I'm going to put the link into the chat for anybody who wants to jump on to do a little Arsenal talk. I will be going on Rashid's channel here in a little bit to do some more Arsenal talk for the game against Brentford, but we're going to get into it. RSV, give yourself a standing ovation. A lot of people don't know this, but it goes even deeper than that. The thing is about Conte is Conte's time at Juventus. This is how corrupt the Serie A and Italy have been for Juventus. When Juventus got caught for the game-fixing scandal in the Calciopoli situation, Juventus was able to keep all of the money that they made as far as selling the players when they went down. The money that they sold Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Emerson, Cannavaro, anybody that they made money on when they went down to Serie B, they were allowed to keep the money. They not only kept the money, they turned around and put the deposit down to start building the stadium. Now, for those who don't know, Napoli was determined to be bankrupt in 04. Going into the 03-04 season, Napoli was determined bankrupt. And the problem is that Napoli wasn't able to keep any of the fucking money when it came to us letting go of players, because it had to go right back into paying off the FA to allow us to change the name and De Laurentiis to take over. So at the end of the day, I 100% agree with this. The problem was that Juve got lucky on so many things when it came to players in the second when they came back up from Serie B. They sat back, they were buying little players here and there just to get finishes close to what they were doing. And then once they were able to get the green light from the government that it wasn't shady anymore to start buying players, they started buying all the best players around the Serie A because nobody had money. Because again, financial fair play was created to destroy the big teams in Italy, because they didn't want Silvio Berlusconi or Massimiliano Moratti, the two owners of the different Milan clubs, to continually spend 50 million every single transfer window, because at the time the Premier League didn't have enough money for these guys to go head to head with those owners. So Juve, for me, to go back to it, Juve got very lucky. I mean, here, you just named Pirlo, Marchisio, Vidal, and Pogba. There's a lot of other players that we have to add into this as far as Juventus. I mean, here, Juventus, they got Fabio Quagliarella from Napoli, who's a fantastic striker. One of my favorite players that played in the Serie A at that time was Mirko Vucinic, the Montenegrin sniper who could score a goal from 25 yards out with his eyes closed at the time. Those who know. But it was just a whole situation that they dominated a league where Inter Milan was handicapped by money because of how much debt they accrued under Moratti, and Milan was handicapped by debt by how much money was accrued by Berlusconi. Now, both of those teams had decent teams that just never worked out because of the money hype and because players would get hurt, or players that they were trying to invest in as far as younger players never panned out. I mean, shout out to Natster. We had a great stream last night on players who you would play. AC Milan had a team of a bunch of ballers that we all say is the streets would never forget. But the problem was they just never gelled together, and they were injured a lot of the time. So it's more of a situation to where Juventus was able to get teams without any problem. Signed under Lippi in the 90s, and you don't know. No, Lippi's team, but see, that's the thing. They were a good team, but the problem is you can't be that good of a team and be fixing games, bro. I'm sorry. That's one of the things that I respectfully disagree with people talking about how good Juventus is. You can't be that good of a team and then need to fix the games if you're that good. I mean, let's all remember something here. These guys had Edgar Davids. These guys had Edgar Davids, Zizou, and Conte himself. You had Conte himself, so you had Didier Deschamps, you had Gianluca Vialli, you had Alessandro Del Piero, eventually then going on to getting Zlatan Ibrahimovic and David Trezeguet. You had unbelievable defenders. I mean, hell, you got Lilian Thuram and Fabio Cannavaro on the team, along with Gianluca Zambrotta before he went to Milan and Barcelona. There's no reason for you to be fixing games across all those years with those players that you had. So while they were a good team to watch to a certain degree, you can't be that good if you need to rig games when you got all them superstars. What teams in the top 5 leagues cheat, you think? Well, Juventus is number 1. I don't really know if there's that much cheating going on in the other leagues. You know, a lot of people like to throw that 115 charge at City and then all the stuff that Chelsea did. But at the same time, here's the problem. Everybody knew what they were getting into allowing that much money into the Premier League. Again, all the American investors and everybody else that's been around for the Premier League since the buildup of the 2000s, they were all okay with handicapping all the other teams. I mean, again, we can go back down the history. Look how good the Bundesliga was from 2000 to 2012. Bayern Munich wasn't winning every single year. You had the Wolfsburg team of Edin Dzeko and Mario Mandzukic. You had the Werder Bremen team with Claudio Pizarro. You had Borussia Dortmund winning titles. Borussia Mönchengladbach was a much better team than it was. Stuttgart won a title. So, you know, the thing is that the Premier League as a whole has cheated. The Premier League as a whole has cheated because they've cheated all the other leagues out of money. And then when you look at the Premier League, you know, I know everybody likes to say that the American owners are bullshit and how they do franchising, but PSR has allowed the English teams to basically franchise because it doesn't allow the next level of teams to eclipse the money problems of them spending. For me, I get rid of financial fair play and PSR. If you're an owner of a football club, if you can find a bank or whatever as far as financials to go overwards and make deals for you to run the club the way you want and dump teams and dump money into it, you should. But you could also incorporate the 50+1 rule that you see in Germany where fans have part ownership of the club, which I think should be a universal thing across the board as far as that. But we'll just see how it goes from there. But I think financial fair play and PSR has caused the Premier League to out-cheat all the other leagues, in my honest opinion. My guy, Suge, my guy from down under. Always a pleasure, man. Appreciate you stopping by for the conversation, man. Always a pleasure, man. Enjoy always seeing from you and hearing from you, my guy. Hope all is well with you, brother. Juventus in the 2010s only had as Roma under Spalletti that had Salah, Dzeko, El Shaarawy, and Napoli under Sarri to an extent for a few seasons to worry about. Yeah, no, that's true. But at the same time, you need to put up or shut up. You know, the Napoli with Maurizio Sarri to what everything that's been going on, you know, the problem with Sarri was Sarri's team the year before he left to go to Chelsea, Aurelio De Laurentiis is at fault for not giving him any more players. Napoli, you know, people can say whatever they want at the end of the day about that team. That team was unbelievable to watch. I mean, there still hasn't been a single team that's won the Scudetto in recent years that's passed Napoli's point total that year as far as the second place team. You know, Sarri, it is what it is with that. You know, Napoli was what was it, 6 or 7 points clear of Juventus by the winter time, and we fucked it up. You know, we forewent the Europa League. We purposely lost in the Europa League. We sent the second team out. I think it was against RB Leipzig in the Europa League when we dropped out of the Champions League that year to purposely focus only on the Scudetto, and we still couldn't win. So, you know, you still, whether a team cheats or not, you still have to put those teams to the sword in order for you to go on and win. So you can't always, you have to try to fight through it because, again, it's Juventus. Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. But again, you know, Pjanic, I mean, it's a less a degree of a rivalry between Rome and Juventus. Higuain's just a fucking fat piece of shit. Higuain's just a fat piece of shit. It's ridiculous. I fuck Higuain. You know, he was good for 2 years with Napoli. We should have got at least to the Europa League final and played Sevilla. We went out to Dinamo Kyiv. We lost to it. No, Dnipro. We lost to Dnipro when we had Rafa Benitez as the manager. And, you know, it is what it is, man. You got to if you're a team that's good enough, you need to prove it and go on and win. And just we've had too many moments where we didn't, but that's what happens when you're building a team up to the level that where Napoli is at now. Big up AJ, my guy, every single time. Hope all is well, my guy. Hope all is well. Please, everybody, subscribe and like. I appreciate everybody stopping by for the conversation today and everything else. Always appreciate everybody that stops by. It's great to see all the usuals in here. Lynch, every single time. Pods, you know what it is too, man. So many guys that hate Del Piero that support Inter and other clubs. That's their most hated player. See, here's the thing, man. I hate Juventus more. Napoli and Inter fans are probably the two most that hate Juventus, but I don't hate Del Piero. Del Piero is a world-class player. Whether you hate the team that he was with or not, it is what it is. But when someone's good, you have to give them the credit that they deserve. And Del Piero is one of the best Italian players I ever saw growing up. I think he's an absolutely world-class player. I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I hate Juventus. I hate the fact that he was there for the Calciopoli scandal, but you can't hate Del Piero, man. He was nothing short of world-class. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is with that. I mean, I'd be honest with you, Barcelona is is shady as well because for years we've been hearing about this $1 billion debt that they have, but somehow they still come up with different levers. Levers is their way of saying shit. They pull different levers to be able to come up with money out of nowhere so they can register players and shit. So it happens all over the place, man. The thing is this. When you support a smaller club like Napoli, there are certain things that you have to take into consideration. Napoli, while we are the fourth biggest team in Italy when it comes to fan base side, financially we're smaller than Rome. Rome is a bigger club than us when it comes to the finances. And you have to understand the fact that the big three in Italy are the money makers. They bring in majority of the revenue that you eat off of. So you have to take that into consideration. However, just because they do that doesn't mean they should be cheating. So 100% agree with that. Look, AJ, everybody's saying what's up to one another. That's absolutely fantastic. Ryan, you're 100% right. Football has fallen off. It's not been the same for a very long time. And it just is what it is. That's why I love doing the who you would pay to see episodes because, football has fallen off and there's a lot of players that might not have made it, are big what if stories that if they were around today, they'd be one of the best players in the world right now. So, that's why it's always good to talk about football, man. Always good to talk ball. Well, haha, my guy. Appreciate you stopping by for the conversation. That's somewhat true. The problem is that you can't take a loss, AJ. The rule from what my understanding is with PSR in England is you cannot post $110 million loss across 3 years, and it has to keep going every 3 years. So again, it comes down to it. The thing about Stan and Josh, whether it is or not, the problem is they've already put in £1 billion. For me, I think the bigger question with Arsenal is more towards Arteta and the board, because ever since Berta has shown up, board members are walking out left, right, and center. So you got to ask yourself, is there a situation that where the boardroom members skimming some of the cash off the top to put in their pockets, and now they can't do it. Now they can't do it because bad man Berta has came in to stop all that nonsense and try to take Arsenal to another level. So it is what it is with that. Yeah, that's exactly what Ryan's saying. The thing is, Arteta's been given this time frame and everything there because of how much more money the NBA and the NFL makes than the Premier League. The Premier League may one day possibly catch the NBA. It'll never touch the NFL. The NFL is the biggest money making sport there is, and it'll never be touched. It'll never be touched. Maybe. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that now. Conte back in the day, possibly. Yeah, yep. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Pads. If you ever go back to Napoli, If you ever go back to Napoli, there is the best place is Da Michele, the historical one. It is a tourist trap, but they do have the best pizza, in my opinion, as far as Neapolitan style. But there's a ton of good small family-owned pizzerias all around the Maradona Stadium. That if you're ever there, if you ever want to check out a Napoli game, go down there, go get some pizza before the game. It's the rite of passage when you go to a Napoli game. Everybody goes get a couple beers in them or a couple drinks in them. They go get a pizza. It's absolutely fantastic. My guy, Godfrey, big up, big up. Yeah, that's a fact. I'd say it right now. If Arsene Wenger was the manager of this Arsenal team, we walk the fucking league. We walk the league. We wouldn't be having all these questions about the team and what ifs this and what if that. It's absolutely bullshit. But that's a whole nother topic right there, man. I think the problem is that Conte's brand of football just doesn't work in Europe because he's too much. The problem is you can't in Europe. There you have to be more of a level-headed team than defense first. Obviously, everyone will then say, "Oh, well, look at Atletico Madrid." Atletico Madrid's rosters, in my opinion, were better than any of Conte's teams at Juventus, and it was better than his Inter team. And really, the players on the forward side of Atletico Madrid were better than all of Conte's teams, if I'm being quite honest. I mean, there's really no comparison, brother. And Antoine Griezmann is easily better than any of the offensive players that Juventus had going forward. Overall, as a collective, I just think Atletico, as far as a defensive team, is better than either of those Inter or Juventus teams. I mean, it is what it is. Brother, no, we don't. You're looking at specifically for the team. The problem is the profit sharing that gets done in the United States makes the Nuggets a more profitable team than Arsenal does at the end of the day with tax loopholes and everything on how it's done in America. That's factually incorrect. I mean, he's the greatest player of all time for a reason, Ryan. He's the greatest player. Listen, mid 80s, all the way up to the mid 2000s. For me, there's never going to be a league on the same level that the Serie A was. And Maradona at the time, I mean, the fact that he dragged a Napoli team that, again, historically, Napoli only won two Coppa Italias in their entire history before Maradona showed up. And then all of a sudden, we were fighting with, for me, the greatest team that I've ever seen play football is the Milan side of Oregio Sacchi. And Milan afterwards, with all the different managers that they've had all the way through, just had unbelievable teams left, right, and blah. Can't even talk today. Left, right, and center. But the big thing here is that at the end of the day, those teams were Milan was just a different level, and the fact that he was able to fight with that team was simply unbelievable when he was a one man show. And to be honest with you, what's even more damning about it is the mafia, La Camorra in Napoli forced him to sell the Scudette the second year because many people thought that Napoli was going to go on to win, which they were winning that league title up until the game that is the game that's suspected of us throwing against AC Milan, where AC Milan beat us 3-2 at that time known as the Stadio San Paolo, but now known as the Stadio Maradona. Yep, yep, yep. No, he's not that good of a manager when it comes to that. Again, if he was able, the problem with Conte is just Conte only wants ready-made players and he only wants to focus on leagues. If he gets Coppa Italias or if he gets FA Cups and everything, he'll take it. But at the same time, that's all he cares about is the league. Conte is not the type of guy that can take on multiple competitions. That's just not in his wheelhouse. Never has been, never will be. Yeah, no, I hear it. I hear it. Women's football is entertaining to watch. Absolutely. Absolutely. RSV, you could go, I could do a whole stream here and sit here for 2 hours talking about how many Super Bowls that I believe were rigged because of how the NFL and how stuff works over here in America. 100% agree with that, my guy. 100% agree with that. Arteta in for you. They won't win the league. The sad fact is that he would never come to I don't think he would ever come to Italy because he won't have the money aspect to it. And again, why would you leave? Why would you leave Arsenal if they're paying you 15 million a year? Ryan, the only sport that I think that actually has gotten better is hockey. I think hockey has gotten better. I think the skill level that all the players have now is absolutely unbelievable. The only thing that has taken away from the sport is the more blue collar fighting aspect of hockey. But when you talk about technical ability and everything else, hockey has gone through the roof as far as that. So I don't think hockey for me is the only one that stands the test of time that it hasn't fallen off. Brother, City A, you could probably make four teams that are better than the Premier League team all time, if we're being quite honest with you. And if you're not somebody that hates on the previous era of players, if you're somebody who's going to stand from this position talking about, oh, they couldn't play in the modern game and all that bullshit, maybe. But City A all time is dog walk in the Premier League all time. That's not even up for a debate. Talk to Kenny Ken. Ask Kenny Ken, ask DJB, ask Shane Gooner, ask Lee Gunner. Shout out to all those guys as well. All those guys are absolute legends, and I absolutely appreciate sharing the screen with all those guys. But they all know. They will all tell you. City A, best league you'll ever see from the mid 80s up till the mid 2000s, by far. Yeah, that's why he got kicked out of the game against Brazil, because they were destroying him. He had to fight back because the referee wasn't calling anything against him. Byron, my guy, appreciate you stopping by for the conversation, my friend. Hope all is well with you. The 80s, Trapattoni, I believe, left before it was over with everything that went on with that in the 80s. But yes, those players were on the team that was fixing games behind the scenes. Platini in the mid 80s. I don't know if Platini was there because Platini came after Liam Brady left. So Liam Brady won the two Scudettes at the beginning of the 80s and then left and was replaced by Platini. I'm not sure if Platini was there for the game fixing, but Rossi, Zoff, Shirea, Gentile, and Tardelli were all there for that. They were all there for that period. And it sucks for the players because in some instances, players didn't know what was going on, but in other instances, very few players did know what was going on and thought that it was okay. And it's just a load of shit. I mean, listen, Van Basten for me is the greatest striker of all time. I know everybody likes to get hyped up about Ronaldo Fenomeno, and Ronaldo Fenomeno is absolutely world class. But those are the two greatest strikers. But for me, Marco van Basten's the best. 28 years old, 3 Ballon d'Ors, did everything that he did with the Dutch team, with Milan, and what he did in the Eredivisie as well. I don't think it's close, in my opinion. I think Ronaldo Fenomeno won a Scudetto with that unbelievable Inter side, I think there would be more of a conversation to be had. But for me, I think Marco van Basten is better than Ronaldo Fenomeno, in my personal opinion. Eh, true, but at the same time, Fabregas took advantage of it. It is what it is. No, he'd throw it in the bin, AJ. He'd throw it in the bin. He'd only be focused on the league titles. That's his main thing. That I'll do that. I'll do that, Mr. Pods. I'll definitely be looking to do that in the future. Um, I'll definitely be doing that in the future where I'll talk a little bit more about the overall history of Napoli and the mafia influence. The mafia influence in Serie A in general is a historical thing overall. Some people have tried to say that the mafia had a hand in possibly rigging the plane that killed the Grande Torino team in the 40s. If you want to go down history, the Grande Torino team was absolutely unbelievable. Well, haha, you're a funny guy. Oh, Mr. Paz, that kills me. I mean, you as a fan of hockey, the old Detroit Red Wings was a fantastic team, but I'm a diehard Chicago Blackhawks fan, so fuck the Red Wings. Baseball definitely isn't. Hockey definitely is for me. Hockey definitely is. The only thing that a lot of people miss from hockey is the fighting capabilities of what used to be. Um, but yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't think he's the GOAT. I do think LeBron is top 5 all time, in my personal opinion. I think he's top 5. Um, you can't deny a lot of the stuff that he did, but uh, it is what it is as far as that. Ooh. Trapattoni's definitely better than Allegri because Trapattoni has won the Champions League. He's won in Europe. Allegri, here's the thing about Allegri. Allegri, when you look at the situation, Allegri came into a Juventus team that was miles ahead and had even more influence than what even Marcello Lepi's team did because they owned their own stadium, where the only other two teams that own their own stadium in Italy is Sassuolo and Udine. None of the other none of the other teams have that extra cash inflow like Juventus has. And Allegri, now that the other teams have caught up, you now see where Allegri really stands as a manager. So for me, I don't think Allegri, if I'm being quite honest, I don't think Allegri can tie Trapattoni's shoes. As far as Ancelotti, listen, for me, Ancelotti is top 5 greatest managers of all time, in my personal opinion. It's a shame that when Ancelotti was the manager at Napoli, that De Laurentiis was a fucking asshole and mistreated Carlo Ancelotti in the situation on how that all played out. But for me, Carlo Ancelotti, for me, is top 5 greatest managers of all time, in my personal opinion. Yeah, I think the thing is with Fabregas, again, like I said, I'm interested to see if Fabregas leaves Como and goes to another team in Italy to prove more. If Fabregas could do what he's doing with a team like Fiorentina or a team like Lazio or maybe Atalanta, then I would buy more into the Fabregas hype. But the problem is that there's been so much money pumped into Como that it's almost like he's already got a leg up on a lot of the other teams. I mean, Atalanta and Lazio don't even have the amount of finances the way Como's been pumped into. So for me, I don't really think it's a situation where we can just hop on and just say, oh yeah, Fabregas is the next hottest thing as a manager. We need to see what happens. And even so with Como, we have to see what's going to end up happening if Nico Paz leaves. Now, Maxence Caqueret is heavily linked to go to Napoli at the end of the season, which for me, I would love Caqueret to come to Napoli. I think he's a very good player. He's been a good player since he got called up from the Lyon Youth Academy when he was a part of that Lyon team that made it to the semifinals of the Champions League in the COVID year. So for me, I think Caqueret is a very good player, and I would like to see him come to Napoli. He lost the goat debate. He lost the goat debate further along than that. Yes, it was what it was with that Dallas Maverick team, which is arguably one of the worst teams that won the NBA Finals. But that's a topic for another day. But I hear you, AJ. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't disagree with you. Don't disagree with you at all. For me, as far as a peak player that comes close to that is Zizou because of what he was doing with Juventus in the 90s and then ultimately going on to win the World Cup in 98. I think Zizou would be the next one that's close and possibly Johan Cruyff. But beyond that, yeah, for me, Maradona 86, there's never going to be a player at that same level. Mismanagement of funds. Mismanagement of funds. Again, financial fair play. Financial fair play is what's crippled all these teams. What's crippled all these teams across the board in Italy. Again, if you get rid of financial fair play tomorrow, all the leagues in general get much better. I mean, here I say this team all the time. One of the best teams that I ever seen play football, especially of the modern era, post 2000. Go back and watch the 7 years of Olympic Lyon League One, and just go look at all the good teams that were in France at the time. Uh, that all the good teams were in France at the time. I mean, Marseille had my boy Mathieu Valbuena, Andre Pierre Gignac, Mandana. They had so many good players. Bordeaux had Johan Gourcuff when he was supposed to be the next Zidane. They won a league title as well. Montpellier went on to win a league title. Across the board, all the leagues were much better before financial fair play came in and stripped all the teams of their financial power. So again, as a whole, you get rid of financial fair play, it opens up the capabilities for teams to have their own identity. I mean, the big thing at the end of the day is you got to look at it. As much as everybody says they hate the American ideology is what's come into football because now everybody wants to play the exact same way that Pep Guardiola plays. And on top of it, you're kind of forced to play the same way because when you look at these smaller teams, they need the Premier League money to come in and buy their players to keep the club running. So in order for you to get to the Premier League, all the teams in the Premier League, unless you're a Sean Dyche or a Big Sam Allardyce or one of those types of guys, they all want to copy the same nonsense that Pep Guardiola is doing. So it's kind of a trickle-down economic situation where you need those players to play that brand of football and eventually be sold off so you can continue building with the team. And then maybe you get the call up to go to the Premier League because you play similarly to Pep. That's just the way that it's become now, with the way that money has ruined the sport, with how the money can only stay in England and you have to basically feed off the Premier League tit. Yeah, no, I hear it, man. Cesca's taken advantage of the amount of money that Como has pumped into it. If Como didn't have all this shady business that's going on behind the scenes to build his team, Cesc Fabregas would not be what we're talking about right now, in my personal opinion. I mean, the fact that you were able to even convince Alvaro Morata to come to that team because of the money that has been pumped into that team is a little suspect. But what do I know as far as that? That's definitely true. Oh, Lynch, you're close to Chicago. Let me know, brother. I got connections when it comes to the Blackhawks. Let me know. We'll try to figure out something. If you end up coming down to Chicago, reach out to me. We'll try to go catch a game together. Man, that's awesome. My guy, my fucking guy, my Irish brethren. Kyle, you're an absolute fucking legend. I will do some Napoli history videos in the future. My guy, I got to get you on, man. I got to get you on to who you would pay to see. I got to get you on for that. I would love to hear your starting 11 and your bench players of a team that you would pay to see, man. I absolutely love the idea that I came up with this. I love hearing everybody's opinions on ball and guys that they liked watching. It's always something where, everybody just focuses nowadays because, again, like I said, with money and the Americanization of the sport, they only want to talk about the greatest of all time. There's so many ballers across the history of this sport that don't get the respect that they deserve. And I think that's why I love talking ball, as far as asking people who were like players that they would pay to see play, because there's other players involved in the sport that a lot of guys don't get the respect that they deserve, in my opinion. But yeah, man, it's that's a big that's absolutely awesome, man. Got to get you on for that. Hold on, just trying to get back in here on the stream and everything else. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you always stopping by. Um, we're not going to talk about that stuff on here. We're not going to talk about that stuff on here. We're going to leave. We're going to leave the fellow. We're going to leave the fellows alone. Maybe another day we'll talk about that. But just know, don't believe everything that uh, social media, the History Channel, and everything else has told you. The one thing I can tell you is, at its peak, and for the majority of the history of the mob in America, New York couldn't touch the power that Chicago had. Chicago's been the most powerful mafia family in the United States from going on from the late 40s. New York was never at the same level that Chicago was. They don't tell you that because of how much they want to influence people and tell you about John Gotti and all them other fucking morons from the East Coast as far as the mafia is concerned. But just know, Chicago, most powerful crime family that ever existed in this country. Now, Al Capone wasn't in power anymore for that. It was some few other people. Capone by that time was already out of the picture in Chicago. I appreciate it, Ryan. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that's stopping by for the conversation, man. It's always a pleasure, and it's very humbling to see this many people who like to come on and watch everything that I've been talking about and doing. Especially, also, I want to give a huge shout out to my man, my brother Shane Gooner. The Off Topic show for me is my favorite show to do outside of obviously my own show. I love doing I love doing this build who you would pay to see, but I absolutely adore going on and getting the call on the off topic show with Shane. Love sitting alongside Taryn. Shout out to BBK Sports every time. He's the fucking man. Love talking with Taryn. Love talking with Kenny Ken. Love talking with DJB, who I've seen in the chat. Big up to DJB every single time. Love talking with Jez. Jez is my guy too. Just greatly appreciated all across the board. Before I jump with the rest of the comments, we're going to go into this real quick. As far as the rest of the Serie A goes, guys, I think right now the only thing that we can look at is that definitely at this current point in time, Inter does look like they're about to run away with the league. I think at the end of the day, AC Milan, Füllkrug is not that good of a player. He was shit at Dortmund. He had a couple of one-off seasons. I don't think he's that good of a player. Juve, we'll see what ends up happening with them, but I'm not too worried about Juve making a title run. For me, I think at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to what Inter does. It's in Inter's hands. It's their title to lose. We've seen it happen before now. We've seen Inter do a madness. You know, you want some Serie A history. Everybody should go back and watch if you can find it. There was a great documentary on the Cinque Maggio for Inter, where Inter went into the last game of the season. They were playing Lazio in 2002. They just had to win, and they would have won the Scudetto. They ended up losing 4-2 to Lazio and went from first to third on the last day of the season. It was an absolute fucking madness. Juventus went on to go win. I believe it was their 26th Scudetto when Inter fumbled the bag with that one. But yeah, man, that's the thing. For me, for the rest of the Serie A, it is going to be an interesting top four battle for the rest of the teams. I think Napoli has to stabilize themselves. We got a massive game against Rome this weekend where me and Shane will be doing another watch along. Again, shout out to my boy, shout out to my brother Shane Gooner. We'll be doing a watch along. Forza Napoli sempre. We ain't dealing with this Rome shit. It's back in Napoli for this game. We better fucking win, or you're really going to see me lose my fucking temper and see the hot-headed Italian side come out. So that's definitely there. And big up my guy. Absolute legend. DJB will be one of the next guys featuring on the Who You Would Pay to See Create Your Own 11 show. We'll see what happens maybe this weekend, maybe during the week next week, but I can't wait to get DJB. DJB behind the scenes was already starting to hint out a couple players, and he's got some bangers ready to go off for that starting 11. So I can't wait. I can't wait for that one, man. Can't wait. Another guy who, again, like I said, if you ask him, he'll tell you how great the old Serie A was. Yeah, no, Como's getting a lot of shady money pumped into it. That's why Como, I'm not ready to just hand over this idea that Cesc Fabregas is the next coming of a big time manager. I want to see him go to a club where that amount of money is not getting pumped in and you really see his coaching credentials. Like I said, for me with Napoli right now, the guys, if we're going to go down this path of doing a rebuild and a new cycle of players where you're going to give somebody a fresh crop of players with some of the players left over from the Scudetto years, not all of them, but some of them. Again, we're not Arsenal. We're not England, man. We can't do 5-6 year fucking projects. You get 3 years at the max. If you ain't winning silverware after the end of the second year, you may get sacked right then and there, depending on what's going on. So for me, at the end of the day, we'll see what ends up happening. It was an okay movie. The movie doesn't really depict a lot of the stuff that really went on with that, but that goes across the board when it comes to the mob, and specifically when you talk about the Chicago mob. The Chicago mob is not what people know it as. A lot of, there's still people out here who have these, that have these crime channels that tell you that Tony Accardo was the boss of the Chicago outfit. He wasn't. Again, nobody really knows who the real main guy was unless you got certain people that are connected, which we won't go further than that. But yeah, a lot of people don't know what they're talking about when it comes to Chicago with that. Big up my guy, Black Crow, every single fucking time. Big up my guy. I hope everything's all as well with you, brother. Hope everything's all good. No, the only way Serie A gets back to where it was is if we get rid of financial fair play. You can do as much change as you want, but If money is still not going to be allowed to get pumped into the Serie A, it's not going to matter, brother. It's the same thing with the Italian national team. If the politics and the discrimination against the Southern players playing for their hometown teams doesn't change, Italy's not going to win a World Cup again. It's just the way that it is. Serie A, the problem is that there's no money coming into the league the way that it used to be. I mean, you look at the situation, you're getting 50 million pounds if you win the Premier League. In Italy, you win 25 million euros. It's a huge fucking drop off when it comes to that. The money is the main thing. Whether anybody likes it or not, it's the money, because that's the way that football has gone down this path now, as far as that. Yeah, man, Kivu is showing some awesome man management capabilities with what he's doing at Inter. So, it is what it is when it comes to that. I saw that. Sterling is finished. I'm happy they were linking him to Napoli, that Conte wanted him at Napoli. If Conte would have told them to get Sterling and Sterling would have showed up, I'd have flew to fucking Napoli and slapped the fuck out of Sterling and Conte myself. I ain't dealing with him. I don't want another fucking Premier League bum to come to my team to suck up money anymore. They all could get, like I said, De Bruyne and Lukaku, get the fuck out at the end of this year. I'm not dealing with you no more. DJB, can't wait, brother. Can't wait, brother. Like I said, you were already shooting off some bangers. I can't wait to see the starting 11 that you're going to put together, man. I'm really looking forward to this. Big up Sean Pennington every single time. Sean, I liked how you were talking about that you loved the fact that I brought up Alan Hansen as far as being one of the greatest center backs of all time in the Premier League. He don't get the respect he deserves, man. He don't get the respect he deserves. I don't know why. Because to me, outside of that AC Milan team, that old school Liverpool dynasty, those are the two greatest teams I've ever seen play ball. And obviously Pep Guardiola's Barcelona is in that conversation as well. But Alan Hansen does not get the respect he deserves. I don't know why. Yeah, but again, the problem is the money aspect, brother. The problem is the money. It's more about money than it is when it comes to that. Again, the teams in Italy can't spend the money that they used to be able to command in order to do so. That's why I said, if you get rid of financial fair play and it's on the teams to be able to make business deals with banks or money lenders in order for them to get a proper amount of cash to start being pumped into the team properly, it's a different story. But as long as financial fair play stays in play, it's not going to happen, man. Yeah, the Heysel Stadium is what it is with that, but Calciopoli isn't the thing that ruined the league. I'm sorry. Calciopoli didn't ruin the league. AC Milan still had an awesome team. Inter Milan still had an awesome team, and Roma still had an awesome team. The other teams were building up from there. The problem was you got hit with financial fair play as well as the Italian economy crashing at the exact same time. It's more so about the money than it is with Calciopoli. Big up Damien, fellow Midwesterner. Chicago's first cousin city. Big up Detroit every single fucking time. Big up Detroit every single time. Another fellow Midwest brethren. God, hope you're surviving the cold, brother. The cold hit the Midwest hard this year for the fucking winter. Yeah. Yeah, but again, it's Kivu. Kivu's doing a good job as far as showing who he's going to be as far as a man manager. This was a man management job at Inter. The problem is you got to look at the mentality thing. A lot of people were fucking overhyping Simone Inzaghi, and don't get me wrong, Inzaghi was a good manager to get that trophy haul that he did at Inter Milan. But the sad fact in reality is he had the best fucking team in Italy for 4 years and only won one Scudetto. He fucked up the first year, which led to AC Milan winning. And don't get me wrong, Napoli fucked up too, because we could have very well won that Scudetto that year as well. But he fucked up that year. He fucked up even more when Napoli went on to win the Scudetto. He finally won and then capitulated every trophy that last year. So, the thing is, at the end of the day, when you go through that type of a situation, that's a man management thing, because Inter have shown through the last 4 years that they have the capabilities of dog walking the Serie A. The problem is this: the mentality issue is what can also derail a great team from winning the amount of trophies that they want to win. For me, like I said, if we're going to keep this squad as a whole together, but even though, like I said, non-negotiables, Politano, Lukaku, and De Bruyne all got to get the fuck out of this team. for me, you get rid of those three guys. You assume you get those massive contracts off the books. You get some money in. You have to wait and see what ends up happening with Lorenzo Luca and Rasmus Højlund. For me, if you're gonna pivot and go after the Scudetto again the following year, I want Roberto Mancini as the manager. I want a proven manager that's going to do that. If you're going to go down the path of a fresh cycle of players, then you open it up for debate of who you want to go get. I'm not opposed to Roberto De Zerbi if you get a fresh crop of players. I would look at Roberto De Zerbi. I would look at Vincenzo Italiano. I think what he did at Fiorentina, granted, there was some shady shit going on with Fiorentina at the time, the way that they fucked off Vincenzo Montella at that time period. But Vincenzo Italiano did a very good job with Fiorentina. I think he's done an excellent job with Bologna. I think he was better than Thiago Motta, if I'm being quite honest with you, at Bologna. But I think for me, I think those are two guys. And to be honest with you, I would also entertain Rafa Palladino at Atalanta. What he's done with Atalanta since he's taken him over, the team has done a complete 180. Juric wanted to play some defensive, pragmatic bullshit when none of them guys can defend like that. Palladino comes in. He's been mopping the floor with guys. They were, I think they were 14th. They're almost, I think they're 7th now. They've jumped up 7 positions in the time frame of Palladino coming on as a manager. So for me, I think it's I think it's a big question mark as far as that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Thanks. Big up. Appreciate you stopping by for the conversation. Absolutely appreciate it. Striker position first and foremost. Striker position first and foremost. I mean, Lorenzo Luca is 6'7" for no fucking reason. The guy's 6'7", can't jump over a fucking credit card, got no strength to him. You know, Lorenzo Luca is just another one of these players that in this recent times for football had one good season with Udinese, and now all of a sudden he was the hottest shit smoking. Lorenzo Luca fucking sucks. Ain't no way, shape, and form we should have paid $30 million for that fucking bum. So for me, the striker position needs to be addressed. We need to get another center back because Juan Jesus is dog shit. Always has been. He's been a failed wonder kid since the early days at Inter Milan back in the day. If you know, you know. Across the board, I think Napoli need to make about 5 signings across the board to add depth everywhere. I think Noah Long, I personally hope that Noah Long doesn't stay at Galatasaray permanently. I hope he comes back to Napoli because I just think he got the short end of the stick when it comes to what Conte did, in my opinion. So I think across the board, I think we need another winger for depth. I think we need another center back. We need another striker. We need and probably another 2 midfielders, maybe a goalkeeper. So maybe 5 to 6 players we need, and I think we could pivot with like a Roberto Mancini and run a right back. Zier, my guy, my Bundesliga guy. I got to get you on as well for my who you would pay to see, because I got a low key set of ballers from the Bundesliga that would surprise you. I got some knowledge about the Bundesliga. So I'd love to get you on, my guy. Love to get you on. Appreciate you stopping by, bro. Appreciate you stopping by every single time. Yeah, he's been good. He's been good for what it's been needed. But again, it is what it is at that. Yeah, George Best is definitely up there. George Best for me is top 15 greatest players of all time, let alone being one of the greatest UK talents of all time. There's UK's got a lot of good ballers that came out of them, but George Best might very well be at the top for that. I got to sit down and relook over that one as far as that. Esposito, I don't think is leaving Inter, brother. I'll be honest with you. Esposito is going to be Esposito. Esposito, I don't think is leaving Inter. If I'm being honest with you, I think Inter will sell Marcus Thuram and Lautaro Martinez before they let Esposito go. And his brother is good too. His brother is the Esposito that's on Cagliari. He's very good. The right back for Bologna is okay. I wouldn't look to him just yet as far as Arsenal. See, for me, my problem with even that type of a conversation is Arsenal doesn't need any more fucking project players. We need guys that are going to go on and go win to help us win the fucking league. I'm sick and tired of a big team talking about project players and all this other bullshit and everything else that's going on. No, he was the starting left back coming into the season, Byron. The problem is Gutierrez has not transitioned well from La Liga into the Serie A. Maybe it's the tactical side of the game, but I don't quite honestly know what to make of that situation as far as that. I think Gutierrez is a decent player. I saw him at Girona. I was hyped when we got him, but I've been very disappointed by him with how he's played. Now, obviously, him playing at the right wing back spot, inverted and all this other shit is because of the injuries, but the injuries are on Conte. Conte has mismanaged this team from the start of the players that he's demanded and not playing them at the same time, which is why I don't want that motherfucker at my club anymore. So now we're going to get into this. We've had enough Serie A talking back and forth. We're going to get into this, the Arsenal-Brentford game. I am going to put the link in the chat. Anybody who wants to jump on. Let's all be respectful of one another. If you guys want to jump on and have your say with for Arsenal, we can definitely get into it. I personally think Arsenal should be walking into this game and slapping the shit out of Brentford. I don't give a rat's ass about Havertz missing and everything else. I think it's been nothing more of an excuse. I'm really not trying to hear nothing about, Havertz this and Havertz that and all this other bullshit. For me, Mikel Arteta has gotten enough backing. He needs to go on and win this game. I don't care what the situation is. If you got to stink it out, you stink it out. Champions go on to win these types of games. These bogey teams that have caused us problems before, you have to go on and, as Kenny Ken would say, put your nuts on the table and go slap these teams up. I'm not listening to none of this other bullshit. I think that Arsenal should be walking into this game with no problem in getting a victory for this game. So for me, there shouldn't be anything on there. And first man, my guy.
Big up Gianni, brother. I had to pay a visit even while I'm driving. You get me?
my man. How's everything going, my brother?
Bro, it's all good, man. It's been a while since we chatted. I think last time we chatted, if I'm not mistaken, was in Sam's watch along for World
The
Cup.
World Cup. Yeah, been a while.
Yeah, that's a bit now. Yeah, man. But hey, listen, since then you started your own stream, bro. I'm actually glad you started, man. I was wondering, man has a channel, hasn't started. What's going on? Finally, man, starting. You know what I mean? So big up to you, bro. You know what I mean? I even saw you on another fellow Saudi panelist's channel, Sammy's. Big up as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my guy, man. Sammy's good people.
Yeah, big up Sammy. That guy's a G blood, yeah. But yeah, man, bro. Listen, just you want to chat Arsenal, we can chat Arsenal, brother. I've said this for a bit now. I just gotta grab
my charger just real quick.
Yeah. I've said this for a bit now, guys. I generally think, like, and it's not just Arsenal. I think it's Man City as well, and you can even add Villa to the mix. Who really wants to win this league?
You know what it is, man? I'm hearing the City talk, but at the same time, here's my problem with Manchester City. And I've been saying this since October, and big up the Waffle Don, because we've been talking about this for a while now. I think the problem with Manchester City is that they're missing too much in the midfield. You know, you go through that run that City had of winning the Premier Leagues back-to-back, that 4-year run. The games that we've seen City drop these stupid points, Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne save their ass every single time in those type of games. You know what I mean? You see last-minute assists, you see last-minute goals and everything that are just not there anymore, you know? And everybody talks about Haaland. You know this because you're a Bundesliga watcher. Haaland would still go through goal droughts in the Bundesliga. Even
at
when
times he did, yes. At times, yeah. It was
Yep, there's always at times that he would drop. That's why it's like, when they talk about Bundesliga, the Farmers League, like, no. Haaland is doing the same thing where he would go through spurts where he wouldn't score goals with Dortmund just as he's done with City. So for me, I don't think City has been – for me, I don't know if I can trust City that way because for me, I think with also Rodri falling apart, I don't think Rodri – is anywhere near the same level, and it showed how shit and overrated, in my personal opinion, that Ruben Diaz is. I think Ruben Diaz has been one of the most overrated center backs for a few years now. And you're seeing.
I disagree about Diaz.
He's always, when you look at those games that City's fucked up in the past since he's been there with the with the in the Champions League and everything else. He always seems to get himself out of position. Now I don't know if that's also a point because I think John Stones is heavily overrated as well because Stones would always get
Yeah,
out of
he's
position
overrated.
too.
Yeah, he's
But
overrated.
I'm just not the biggest fan of a Ruben Diaz. But yeah, man, I watched that the Deutsche Pokal game with you in Leipzig. That first half was a little shaky for you guys.
Bro, I said in my reaction, to be honest, I thought we were lucky to even win the game. Because I felt like we're lucky the Baumgartner goal was offside just,
Man,
you know,
he
when
that was like by
Diomande.
an inch he was off. By an inch he was offside.
Yeah, bro. Diomande took care of Pavlovic, Nabry, and who was the Ta, I believe.
Yeah, Ta looked bad in
Davies.
that game, man.
It was Davies, and then Ta could have dealt with the Baumgartner shot, but yeah, it was one of those. I don't know, and then we weren't as direct at times. It was off, man. It was really off. And you know what? I have to say, for a guy that I call Uncle needs to retire. I mean, Neuer saved us in a few moments as well. You know, and then obviously a crossbar moment before we got the penalty.
Yeah,
I have to admit, but
yeah.
yeah, it's just listen. At the end of the day, we get the result, but like since we've come back from the break, we've had this like theme, especially in our fan base. It's a common theme that we have a saying. It's like we're like second half FC. So
Hmm.
first half we do fuck all. You know what I mean? It's like we try to observe what's going on, and then second half is where we kill. But
Yep.
then obviously against Augsburg, it was a whole 90 minutes of lackluster performance until we conceded the second goal, which is then
Hmm.
what that's after, that's when we show their urgency, which is pathetic. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Especially if you want to go far in all comps. Um,
Yeah.
and then the Hamburg game was just poor as well. Even though some Bayern fans blame the referee, and listen, that day I have to admit, I was at the wrestling event here, so I didn't really watch the full game. I had to watch the highlights, but I was told that apparently there was a bare madness with the referee and the
Hmm.
calls and whatever. But whatever, it's besides the point. We weren't good enough regardless. Because from what I saw, we weren't good enough anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just listen, a good thing that we're slowly getting to speed regardless. But it's
Hmm.
just again, I don't know if the way we approach games is sustainable in all comps. I'll be so real,
I
you
don't
know.
think it
I
is. If I'm being quite honest with you, one of the things that like me and Shane talked about on the first stream was how the layout of the Champions League is. And I've been saying this. Maybe I'm going to get burned by them. I don't know, but they're starting to come into form. I'll be real honest with you, bro. If I see Bayern put a performance in like that with Inter starting to hit stride and they get put on the same side of the bracket as Inter again, I would not be surprised if Inter knock you guys out 2 years in a row. I just think the way I think you guys rely too much on that Pavlovic kid in the middle to anchor that midfield. And I just think the times that I've seen Bayern, there's times where Bayern looks unplayable, and then there's times where the defense doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Obviously, Limer's coming back in, who's going to be a huge, huge piece needed to make the run because I think Conrad Limer is one of the most underrated and underappreciated players
oh
in
no,
football.
that guy this season under company, my days, blood. That guy.
Has he been worse? Because I loved the guy when he was
No,
in
no,
Leipzig. He's
he's been
just been a workhorse.
rejuvenated, bro. You know what it is, right? He's been rejuvenated. That's the
Hmm.
thing. He's been
Yep.
like, I feel like last season, obviously his first season above was under Tuchel, and that was terrible. He was only all
Yeah,
right since
the whole
like,
situation with Tuchel
yeah,
was
yeah,
rough.
he was only okay, yeah, because he was an Nagelsmann signing, but we sacked
Mhm.
Nagelsmann, and we signed him a year prior, by the way.
Right.
But yeah. But regardless, like Limer, he had a shaky first season, but then obviously towards the end was okay in DM alongside Goretzka, if you remember, even against
Hmm.
Arsenal,
Yep.
playing that role. Yeah, and I actually thought he was doing okay at the end of that season. Then last season, he starts playing right back under Company because obviously Company knew that because by the way, at Leipzig under Nolman, he played right back at times.
Yep.
He's pretty versatile. The
Yep.
only problem I had with Limer at that season, because I remember I used to call him names, because of how slow he was. He was fucking, bro. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
He looked a
this
couple
guy got
pieces
caught in
off.
transition too
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the goal, like the first thing that comes to my mind about Limer's like deficiencies is, I don't know if you watched the game, but we played Dortmund and we drew 1-1.
Yes.
Brian O'Gittin's goals, this was a goal. That was all Limer's
Yep.
issue. I don't know how he didn't
Yep.
keep up there. You know what I mean? But the thing is, this season, what benefited him a lot, and I think towards the end of last season too, it's the fact of like we do man-to-man pressing,
Mm-hmm.
man-to-man marking. And Limer as well is very good at doing these underlap and overlapping runs.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps Olise a lot,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So Limer is important in that aspect. Like he's one of those brothers that is important because of the system. He's like he's a pure definition of system player,
Yes.
whether we like it or we don't. It's
Yes.
not he's not somebody I would like, say on paper is the best fullback in the world. He may be
Right.
playing like one right now, but
Yes.
he's for me like somebody that's benefiting off the system,
Yep.
you know, which is why he better pray company stay because
Mm-hmm.
once he's gone, he's gonna be back to being poor again. I already know. I'm
Hmm.
prepared for that. So, yeah, it is what it is. Um, but bro, about Pavlovic, listen, I'll be honest, he had an amazing start of the season. Like I still maintain that and I still rate him. But again, the problem is ever since the Arsenal game, I can tell he's been losing a little momentum.
Yeah.
Here and
I
there.
was just going to ask, do you think it's been since the Arsenal game or
Yeah,
further
yeah, I
along
think
since?
so. I think so. I think he's been performing okay here and there. He performs mid performance here and there. Like he's all over the place. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
will admit, as a Bayern fan that thinks that this guy is pretty overrated, I have to say he's been putting in a shift majority of the time, bro. I have to give Kimmich credit where it's due because
Yeah,
again, we're
he's turned
talking.
it around. He's turned it around because there was a point where Kimmich looked like he was falling off a cliff with form and shit too. He's definitely
Yeah, but you know what it was? He. This is the bit that really annoyed me. Yeah, because I know how elite he is when it comes to being direct with his passing and dictation of whatever.
yep.
My issue with that guy was, despite all that, he would do the safe thing, the pass sideways, backwards, and I'm like, bro, I just need you to just be direct. You be direct. Now I don't have to really blame you for this. Now it's the guys that's in front of you. There are
Mm-hmm.
times in which he makes sick passes to Kane and Kane fumbles at times, or he'll score,
Yep.
or another guy will fumble. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to admit, he's been stepping up. And even when he does sideways, backward stuff at times, it's like there's a purpose. Because
Yep.
you can't do direct all the time. I get it.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it is what it is. So listen, I have to admit, Kimmich been stepping up. And that's something I have to give him credit for. Because if he didn't step up while Pavlovich was going on a bit of a downward up, up and down, form, you know what I mean? Yeah, it would have been long. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously you have our listen, I mean, people, you might actually, maybe you won't be shocked, but I mean, there's a lot of people in my fan base that rate Upa too highly. Blood. You know when he extended his contract, I didn't
He
care,
sucks. He fucking
brother.
sucks. He
I
fucking sucks.
You know what it is? You know what it is, Johnny? Yeah? You know what it's Johnny? Yeah. I'm gonna give you the best definition of Upamecano. It's like a
Big up,
pure
Manny.
detail definition.
Big up,
Big up,
Manny.
Manny, man. This is like the pure definition of that, brother. The guy will give you consistent performances until when it matters most. Wait
Yep.
till the day it matters most.
Yep.
He will go through a fucking mental block.
Yep.
This mental block is why, for me, I can't trust the brother. I can't because
I'll
for me,
be honest with you, bro. Maybe you can clarify or not if they're going to start chilling with the spending because I know like the amount of money they spent on Kane is not normal for Bayern Munich to drop that amount of money. But for me, I would have never re-signed the guy if I'm being quite honest with you. I'd have either tried to find someone to buy him or let his ass walk for free and go get Bastoni because I don't think Inter's going to be able to hold on to Bastoni for too much longer just because of the financial problems they have. In my personal opinion, when they were talking about Saliba possibly going to Real Madrid, I wanted Bastoni to come to Arsenal because I would think him and Gabriel Magalhaes should be an awesome center back pairing if we were to lose if we were to lose Saliba. But for you, with what you've seen with Bayern, obviously Bayern and Arsenal are going to be on the separate side of the bracket for the Champions League, so we won't run into you guys as far as the knockouts. Obviously, a lot of people have given Bayern a lot of respect, and as they should, because of the heritage and connection they have with the trophy. Where do you rank Bayern for the Champions League favorites? And in your opinion, where would you rank Arsenal as in that conversation for the Champions League as well? Then Manny, I'll come to you with that same question once Zir gives his answer.
I actually don't know, because I feel like this season's Champions League more than ever is the most wide open Champions League. I really don't like. I wish I had an answer. Like, usually each year I can give you maybe one team that's a favorite. You know, like except for maybe last season. Last season I didn't expect PSG to do what they did. I can't lie. Yeah, I actually
think a lot of us did.
Last season I remember at this point of the season you will be shocked. I thought Inter Milan had it.
Yeah, I did too for a point. Once they fell apart with the Serie A and the Scudetto when they went to the final, I'm like, PSG is going to dog walk these idiots because
I thought despite all that, maybe Inter Milan. You know what? I remember at that point, because remember my Saudi club was linked with Inzaghi.
Yeah,
actually, and I'm sure you know, by the way. So anyone that doesn't believe me, Gianni can help me on this. Gianni, is it true that Inzaghi agreed to join Al Hilal? Yeah, way early.
Hilal was talking to Inzaghi. Hilal was talking to Inzaghi once Inter said they weren't getting him any extra players in the winter transfer season. So once the transfer window shut at the end of January, he was already in conversations with Al Hilal. DiMarzio was talking about that in February. So that was already.
And his family. His family, by the way, certain stuff, but his family, by the way, paid a visit here.
Yeah, his wife, wasn't it like his wife or something went out to Saudi?
I think his wife and one of his sons or something.
Yeah, they were like house searching in like February or March out there.
They were just observing the city and everything. Yes.
Yeah.
Just observing the city, seeing the city's good for them.
Yeah. Manny, I'll pose the same question to you. Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, we all have nightmares of Bayern. It was good to get that 3-1 victory over Bayern, but we've all have nightmares of when Bayern have slapped the fuck out of us in the past. But where do you rank Bayern as far as the favorites to win the Champions League, and where do you see Arsenal's chances in this Champions League?
Yeah. Gianni, first of all, let me say buongiorno to you and to Ahmed, Marcel Kher. Wonderful to see you both. Two of my favorite foreign football fans. I love the fact that,
Manny, tu parlo italiano?
A little bit. Not very much, I'm afraid.
Bravo, signor, bravo.
So I know a few words and phrases, but I will have to learn a little bit more to hold a conversation. It is a very lovely language, regardless of what John Cleese says in The Fish Called Wanda. To hell with him. He does not have a clue. Now, back to your question. One thing which we need to get out of our heads is this idea that just because a team qualifies at the top of the league phase, they're favourites to win and they will end up winning. Because the thing about this particular format is that there is only one thing that matters, namely that you secure your passage into the knockout stages by hook or by crook. And we all know, I remember beating PSG in the league phase last year, and we were, so delighted with the way we progressed and how PSG were in danger of not even making the knockout stages. But then we all know what happened. They qualified, they beat 3 English teams, Liverpool, Villa and Arsenal, en route to winning the whole shebang. So,
really quick, just to cut in, Napoli should get a piece of that fucking trophy for selling Vada to that team halfway through the season last year. So we should be getting a piece of that trophy.
Speaking of Napoli, I went to the Napoli-Milan game, bro. I'm not
I'm pretty certain. I'm pretty certain that Luis Enrique might arrange for you lot to get a little slice of the pie, maybe some more cash or what have you, some moolahs, what you would say on that side of the Atlantic. Now, when we're talking about Arsenal and Bayern Munich, we are basically speaking about two teams that have pretty much, they've been the two best teams in the league phase. Let's get that straight. And obviously, although we did beat Bayern 3-1, I think both of you can agree that it wasn't necessarily an easy win, but we took our chances brilliantly. We were clinical, and I'm quite happy. And I also think it's fair to say that the sooner Bayern Munich get a replacement for Manuel Neuer, the better. Still a quality keeper, but his best days are long gone. Now, back to your question. I do think, though, that if the team still continues to maintain a level of solidity, there's no reason why they can't reach the semi-finals, and from there, anything goes. But PSG this season are sort of struggling a little bit by comparison to last season. You know, they've obviously hadn't had it too easy in Europe, and even in Ligue 1, they're facing a very big fight with Lens to retain their title. I think Marseille have dropped off alarmingly, and now De Zerbi has left the club. Yeah. So I would say that I think the reason why I'd probably put Bayern as slight favourites above Arsenal is because once again they've got players who've been there and done it, and they know how it is. As for us, you know, reaching the semi-final after a long time was good, but again, there is this allegation that for all of our investment in skill, we still might have a little bit of a soft centre. And that's going to be tested tonight, mind you, when we go all the way to the G-Tech to play Brentford. David Ray and Christian Norgard going back to their stomping grounds. There are, of course, reports that Saliba might not play because he's got some sort of an illness. That's perfectly fine. He's been sloppy of late. He's been giving the ball away very cheaply far too often. And I think Christian Mosquera, if he comes in to replace him, will do a good job. I'd say again, without digressing further, Bayern are probably just slightly better favourites than Arsenal to win, and there's no reason why they can't reach the semis or the final. I think if we want to show that we are capable of winning the whole thing, we've got to toughen up some of our performances. And every single team in the league phase has to play a section of teams that are really, really good and teams that just quite frankly can't cut the mustard in comparison. So winning the league does not give you the title automatically. That's what I'm going to say. It's how we navigate the knockout stage where there's more jeopardy, as it were, that really determines whether or not we're worthy of being winners.
Yeah. I hear that.
Yeah. And this could be, and like you said, with how Zier said, how wide open it is, this could be one of those weird one-off years where a Liverpool could make the final, even though they're shit in the league. A Chelsea could pull it off, as we saw with both times they've won the Champions League. I think Arsenal, the question that I have with Arsenal is, does the pressure get to them to where this is to where you need to focus more on the league or not? Because like I said, my personal opinion, I'm not too sold that Arsenal can win the Champions League. I think a double as far as either the League Cup final and the Premier League, or potentially losing the League Cup final, winning the Premier League and winning an FA Cup is more on the cards to potentially happen than winning the Champions League. I'm just this prescriber that I think you need to build consistency of winning trophies before you go on to win the Champions League. The teams that we've seen win the one-off have built that consistency of winning trophies along a period that eventually they get over the hump for it, which is why I think Arsenal's not really on that level. And I think that one of these outside teams could definitely beat us in a two-legged affair, especially because we're going at all comps. And it's also down to the injuries as well. And the biggest thing, it comes down to the manager. I mean, listen, the league is not won. Obviously, City has cut the lead down to 3 points, and Villa has cut the lead down as well. Obviously, it's in our hands, and it's Arsenal versus Arsenal more than anything else. For the game against Brentford today, I agree with you. It's not an easy game, but champions go in and slap these fucking teams. You know, when you go on to win a league, champions, if you're going to prove that you're a champion, it doesn't matter how good one of these lower level teams are on or how much of a streak they're on. You go and smack them the fuck up. It happens every single time, whether if you're good enough or not. If you're not, you're just a pretender, as Arsenal has been for the last few years. For me, as I've said, I'm happy that we don't run into Bayern Munich, that we got put in the same bracket as them as far as opposite sides of the draw. However, what I will say is this. I would much rather land on the other side of the bracket and dodge the Real Madrid PSG side of the bracket, but I will still say, and I've stood by this, that 3-1 was a good result, but it didn't tell the whole story against Inter. And I think a fully healthy Inter, especially if they're hitting stride the way that they're starting to look right now, is not a team that Arsenal wants to play. Because for me,
Absolutely.
and I've said this to a couple people, if somehow Martin Odegaard gets shoehorned into this team and it's Martin Odegaard, Zubamendi, and Rice in that midfield, and Rice, I'm sure you've seen it, Rice has been limping in a few of these recent games at times when the camera zones in on him. He's been limping a little bit and maybe nursing an injury. And if he's nursing an injury, the last midfield you want to go up against, one of the last midfields, is you do not want to go up against a full-fledged Shalanoglu, Barella, Zielinski, and then a Fratesi off the bench. You don't want to run into that at this time frame.
How has Kiva been coaching Inter? Sorry, how's Kiva been coaching Inter?
He's been doing a good job. Inter at this current point in time looks like they're getting primed up to walk the league for the rest of the season. AC Milan's got a game in hand where they can cut the lead down. Inter's lead right now is 8 points, but obviously AC Milan has a game in hand, so it could potentially go back to 5. But AC Milan's been inconsistent, and I'm not trusting them to be able to chase down this Inter. Know that team is capable of. This league will be over with by middle of March, and now they're able to focus on going straight on for the Champions League again. And like I said, a team that's experienced of getting to 2 finals in the last 3 years, I don't want Arsenal to be running into them when they're hitting form. Because like I said, one, if you're going to end up trusting Calafiori again, Calafiori is going to get dog walked by Denzel Dumfries. And we got lucky that Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram were both off of their game in the game against Arsenal, because when the 2 young kids, when Boni and Esposito came on, they changed the dynamics of the game until Gyökeres hit that class goal. Because had Esposito scored that goal and tied it up 2-2, it's a completely different game with the way Inter started taking control. So for me, I think Kivu's done a very good job as far as man management with this Inter team. So Inter, for me, on the other side of the bracket, that's the biggest worry. Now, if Arsenal get on the other side of the bracket and knock out Inter, then Arsenal has no excuse to not get to the final, in my opinion, from that perspective. Maybe one of the other English teams could be a threat, but with the way that we've been able to handle ourselves, I think we can get over them. The only problem is, again, it lands on the manager, and it's a do-or-die season for him. When you see all this other shit that's going on behind the scenes, he's thrown Odegaard under the bus. I don't know if you saw the question. Ironically enough, I think it was Tom Canton that asked it, who never asked a tough question to Arteta, but he screwed up and ended up doing so. He asked him what's been going on with Odegaard, and he says, I give Odegaard the opportunity to go forward. So, it's basically now there's stuff going on behind the scenes. Some people have said that there's been a falling out between Odegaard and Arteta, so we'll end up seeing what happens with that. At the end of the day, I think that this is a situation where this is a Champions League, even though with how wide open it is, this is where the heritage comes in, which is why I've always said the clubs that have the heritage in this competition in the latter stages always show up, which is why I'm a little nervous. I mean, even Real Madrid could potentially pop up out of nowhere, and they haven't been having the best of seasons. But how many times did we see Real Madrid in that run not have a good season in La Liga, or pop up and win the Champions League? So this is just that competition where you can't rule those teams out. As far as today with the Brentford game, this is going to speak to what's going on with Arteta. Brentford's only lost 2 games at home. We'll see what ends up happening, but I think Arsenal should be going in and slapping up Brentford. If I'm quite honest with you, after what City just did to Fulham, you should go right back and try to do the same thing and beat these guys 3-0.
Amico mio, it's easier said than done, because we're coming up against the Brentford team right now that even without Kevin Schade, who I think was sent off against Aston Villa and obviously suspended for Newcastle, they actually ended up earning 2 very impressive away wins. And, all I will say right now is that wide player they have, Otara, who used to be on the books at Bournemouth but ended up going to Brentford in, I think it was the September window. He literally has proven himself to be a huge handful. So whoever plays at left back today, I mean, from what you've told me about Calafiori, I've got to say right now, I wouldn't necessarily be confident in his ability to deal with Otara. So I've got to hope and pray that Hinshapi ends up starting. And again, you talk of man management. I think it's fair to say that, we were complaining about how Hincapie was one of our better players against Chelsea in the second leg of the League Cup semi-final, but then he was, dropped or something. I think people might prefer to say he was rested, so to speak. But Hincapie will have to play this game, and we've definitely got to start Mosquera as well. Now, I will say that when it comes to these, niggly, difficult teams this season, so far we've managed to find a way to win. And our only really hurtful defeats this season have been against teams that have actually been doing really well in the league. I think we lost to Villa Park, Manchester United at home, who are, of course, in the top four, resurgent under Michael Carrick, and, of course, Liverpool at Anfield. We have to play City at the Etihad, I think. So this has to be a game that we win. And what I always say is I don't care about statement wins, as people say, because at this particular point in time, winning is a statement. So I wouldn't mind seeing us, stink out the gaff and, come away with a stinky, jammy 2-1 or even 1-0 win, as long as it keeps us 6 points ahead of Manchester City and 9 points ahead of Aston Villa. So we have the ability to keep our focus against these niggly teams and not lose, although one can definitely say that we should have beaten Sunderland, and that bit of what I call mental flatulence cost us at the end. So as far as Brentford are concerned, we've got to take this very seriously, and hopefully I'll see you on Rashid's show later on tonight at 6:30 UK time. We're going to talk about the starting 11. But that's pretty much it. And one thing I also will say is that you keep talking about Inter Milan. I think Dumfries was actually unavailable to play against us, wasn't he?
Yes, he was injured.
So, had he been fit, I know that he's getting on a little bit and maybe, he's seen better days. But he is still, for me, a very, very ferocious right wing back who loves bombing forward, very strong, very athletic. If he were, a few years younger, he'd be a perfect Premiership player and he'd literally cook for whichever team he joined, be it someone like, an Aston Villa under Unai Emery or even, Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. You know how he likes his fullbacks to really bomb forward. Good replacement for Kyle Walker there. Yep. But, that's one thing that we've got to remember that, once you get to the knockout stages, I think the teams who are going to be there will definitely be, refreshed. And once you get to the knockout stages, it's a clean slate. You start all over again. No, as Liverpool found out, nobody cares if you top the league phase with a good record, unless you produce it on the day, you are sunk. And it's funny that the title of your stream, and I will end by asking you this question, I'll shut my mouth, was talking about how Conte needs to leave immediately. I love your mentality, Gianni, where you say, I don't care if he's won the Scudetto last year. Past glories mean nothing, and if you aren't able to keep producing and the team and the performances are poor, you've got to leave. Conte was one of the many managers who was hired by the now former chief executive of Tottenham Hotspur, Daniel Levy. And I speak about this in light of the interview that Ange Postecoglou gave to the Overlap Stick to Football show, where he basically, ripped the ownership a new one, saying that they're nowhere near a big club. And of course, Conte was the one who probably, you could say, started this whole chain thing by literally doing what he did, ripping the board a new one, and basically saying that there's no ambition from the board or even maybe some of the fans. And as we all know, he didn't last very long, despite previous season pipping us to top four. I just wonder, though, if in light of what's going on, do you believe that Conte is absolutely right, or maybe it might be some sour grapes from his side? How do you see this?
As far as what's going on in Napoli?
As far as what's going on at Napoli and also what went on with him at Spurs.
Well, okay. Well, I'll start with Spurs. Spurs is just a fucking fucked up, stupid club. This is the only club that when Giovanni Lo Celso was as highly rated as he was coming out of Ligue 1 and La Liga, they took a guy who had been a career false nine, secondary striker or winger, and tried making him a center midfielder. They've just been on par with making stupid decisions like that since. On top of it, what spoke even more that I don't think Tottenham is a serious club and a fucked up club is they went with Fabio Paratici to be the new sporting director when Paratici had nothing to do with building the old Juventus team. The Juve team that
Pepe Marotta, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Correct. It was Bet Marotta who did it. Paratici was the guy. Paratici was the guy making the illegal signings and cooking the books in order to get players in because they had overspent so much at the time at Juve. So the fact that Spurs didn't know that, and the fact that they were stupid with everything going on with Pochettino as a manager, it's just par for the course. It's just par for the course for what's been going on at Spurs. It's just a shit ran club. As far as Napoli's concerned, it's all his fault. Conte held Napoli hostage. He only signed a 1-year contract with Napoli with a possible extension after what was going to happen for the team. He told De Laurentiis, both him and his son, he told Giovanni Manna, the sporting director, and the rest of the board, you need to spend money to prove that you're worth my time. So he held us hostage. He got everything he wanted and has run this team into the ground. The biggest thing that's the standpoint of this is the problem with Kevin De Bruyne and also the problem with what ended up happening with Noah Lang. How do you request a seasoned, experienced striker who's won 2 league titles in 3 years? Granted, it was the Eredivisie and the Belgian league, but he still was a very good player in both of those leagues. You don't give him a start, and your great philosophy was, let's take McTominay out of position, out of being a number 10, and turn him into a left wing. I mean, the stupidity is just way too much at one point with him. So for me, I think Conte is the problem and has to go. Now, as far as the pivoting of who you look for, it all depends what type of situation you're going to look at from that perspective. If you're going to go from the perspective of you want to turn around, just make a couple signings and go again for the Scudetto next year, you go for a seasoned manager who has experience in winning. And for me, the best guy on the market to go after is Roberto Mancini, in my personal opinion. If you're going to say, okay, we're going to go 3 years, we're going to take a step back for a season, move a lot of the older players out of the way, and we're going to bring in some younger talent to start a new cycle of players, then you open it up to a forum to where who do you want? Because then I look at De Zerbi, I look at Vincenzo Italiano at Bologna, or I'm even looking at Rafa Palladino with what he's been doing with Atalanta since he took over the job from Ivan Juric. So for me, that's the route that I go. As far as the mentality with Napoli, brother, here's the situation that Napoli is in. We are the only club that consistently has been running in the green for majority of the season. De Laurentiis runs the club to where they earn a profit every single year, majority of the time. Inter, Milan, Juve, Rome, the 4 big teams when it comes to the financial side, are all in financial shambles. They cannot spend a big amount of money. Napoli has the capability of doing so. So with that being said, you need to take advantage of this time frame that those teams can't spend money and rack up as many trophies as possible. And that to me is the reason why you have to tell Conte to get the fuck out of the club. Because now it's coming to the point to where if we continue to go with Conte and he continues to fuck up, he's hindering us longer and longer from potentially getting more and more trophies. I mean, with the amount of trophies that we've won under De Laurentiis, we still haven't matched Lazio or Rome for passing them up on trophies. And we're the 4th biggest team in Italy when it comes to the fan base, side. So you have to seize this opportunity and continue to win. This is a possibility where it could be the first time ever we see a Southern team have dominance in the Serie A. And if you continue to make mistakes with a guy like Conte at the helm, you're just going to let that slip through your hands. And I don't want to let that slip through our hands.
No, that makes a lot of sense, to be fair.
So, Mancini's been out of the game for a while. And I know, Zier, he was bad at Saudi as far as the national team.
He was terrible, blood.
Yeah. But the thing is with Mancini is we all need to remember something. When he left Inter the second time around, he got fired on false pretenses, which was bullshit, and they turned into a cabal when Frank de Boer's trash ass took over that team because Mancini brought Inter back from 9th place back to finishing top 4 consistently in Italy, or top 5 the first full year he was there. So for me, Mancini, I think, is still a guy that can command the respect of good players to be able to push forward, which is why I say Mancini, I'd give him a 2-year contract. See if you can grind out another Scudette in 2 years with the older team and then hit the reset button where you go get the younger players. Or if you want the younger players now and just hit the reset and see what happens, go get one of these younger managers. Cesc Fabregas, though, for me, I'm not taking a chance on him. I'm not. As I said, there's been so much shady money that's been pumped into Como for the last 2 years that I'm not taking that chance with him coming to Napoli and possibly being found out and he fucks up. Rafa Palladino did an amazing job at Fiorentina. He's doing an amazing job with Atalanta at this point. I'd be willing to take a chance on him. Vincenzo Italiano at Fiorentina and Bologna has been very good, especially him getting Bologna to win the Coppa Italia. And then De Zerbi, I mean, look, De Zerbi, he's fallen out with Marseille. It is what it is. I think if you give De Zerbi a team where it's the best team that he has on paper, I think De Zerbi can contend for a league title. However, if De Zerbi wants to go into that hellhole of Spurs, go ahead and do it, but I don't think it's smart for him, and I think it'll really hurt his stock.
I think his mentality is shit, by the way. I don't think you should get him. I think his mentality stinks.
Who, De Zerbi?
Yeah. I don't like his
mentality. What he did with Sassuolo was unbelievable. What he did with Sassuolo and Brighton, I think, was very good. I think if you were to give him a much better team on paper than what he's had at those clubs, I think he can be better. However, obviously, Marseille has got some really good players, and it's taken a little bit of a fall with where he was with there. But I'd be willing to take a chance with De Zerbi. But that's the thing. If you go down the path of getting young players, you can get a manager, and if he fucks off for a year, you hit the eject button and get rid of him immediately. You know, as I was saying earlier on in the stream, this ain't England. We're not doing this 5-year, 6-year project bullshit. We don't do that shit in Italy. If you're getting a new cycle of players, the maximum you're going to get is 3 years. And it's more so a 2-year plus one option. We're not going all out for 6 years for you to just fuck off. Not in the state that Napoli's in right now. We've been winning so many trophies since De Laurentiis has taken over. If De Laurentiis wins 2 more trophies in his ownership period, we've won more trophies than the Maradona period. So you can't, we can't prescribe to this whole we got to take on a project. I'm not with that bullshit.
Brother, I hear you, man. I can't, bro. To be honest, nobody other than Arsenal fans actually are doing this whole 6-year project.
Yeah, that's what makes it really, really stupid. And I think, especially after this bombshell interview that Ange gave, I don't think any manager worth his salt would even want to touch that club with a barge pole. And that's the way it should be, really, because the way Ange wasn't perfect. If you had to sack him, you get a manager with pedigree, as you'd say. You don't get someone who is effectively going to be just another Graham Potter. And that's one of the reasons why I have no sympathy for Spurs in their current predicament. And of course, with Forest having sacked Sean Dyche, that's another club which ended up not doing much better after Ange was sacked there. But forget about Ange for a minute. I just wanted to sort of get your idea about Conte. And you mentioned that obviously things aren't going well for him. If he does end up being removed by Napoli, where do you see him managing next? Because I'm not too sure that there are too many other clubs that are willing to accommodate him in his rather fiery temperament.
Honestly, I think Conte may have to go to Saudi and take his chances down there. That's the thing about when he came to Napoli. Conte needed Napoli because he wasn't getting a call from any of the big teams after that situation had happened at Spurs. And now it shows even worse for Conte because this guy just again, he was given everything that he wanted and he still found a way to fuck it all up. So for me, Conte's in a really bad position right now as a manager. And this is what's going to be a telltale sign of what's going to end up happening. Because for me, even if Conte stays in the top 4 this year, I don't want him at this club because of the fact that I want trophies to be coming in at this club. At this current point in time, this isn't the same Napoli like it was years ago when it was Hamsik, Lavezzi, and Cavani, where we just started turning into the club that we are now, and we were maybe challenging for trophies. We should be challenging for trophies every single year right now with what we've done of laying the foundation for the last 15 years coming into this period now of where it was. So for Conte, I don't know. Conte might have to go. Conte might have to go to Saudi to try to reprove himself and do something over there, because I honestly don't see which big team is going to call him back. I mean, maybe Juventus will call him back because he's got the heritage and the lineage to that team for when he was a player. But I honestly don't know if Juventus would be able to take him, because the players that they have look pretty good playing this more forward-thinking brand of football under Luciano Spalletti. I don't know if they're going to want to go back under that defensive bullshit. You know, that's really the question as far as when it comes to Antonio Conte. Honestly, the only big club maybe that Conte could go to would be Atletico. But I honestly think if once Atletico Madrid lets Simeone go or Simeone walks, I think they're going to try to play more open attacking football than what they've done under Simeone. So that's really the only thing for me. I don't see Manchester United going to get him. I don't see United. The thing here with United is, and I've said this for time, since Alex Ferguson's left, I think the biggest reason why United's been a shit club is because they've gotten away from the heritage of their own football. They are known for open attacking football. Ever since he's gone, they have tried to get the most pragmatic managers and ain't done shit for trying to win the league. I don't think Conte would be anything different for them. I don't think Conte would go back to Chelsea, not with them young kids. They wouldn't be able to handle Conte as a manager, and there'd be a big falling out. I don't see him going. He's definitely not going to City. City fans will lose their shit if Conte took over that team. And I don't know. I just don't see him. I don't see him going to any big. He's not going to Bayern. He's not going to go to PSG, although I think it'd be hilarious if he walked into PSG behind Luis Enrique. But that ain't going to work, because you imagine trying to change that team into a 3-4-3 the way he's done it with Napoli. I just don't see it happening. That's why I think, for me, I think Antonio Conte, I think is destined to go to the I think Antonio Conte is destined to either go to a Saudi league, maybe a Qatari league, rebuild his name and see, or maybe become an international manager. But the big stage teams, I don't think Conte is going to be getting a call anytime soon from those teams. I think he's kind of finished at that level.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because obviously, as you know, our boy Zaire is a big fan of Al Hilal. And I think it's fair to say that given how well Al Hilal are doing, there is no way you'd want to take Antonio Conte as your manager. Isn't that right?
I mean, you laugh, but even though we're top of the league, our season's been such a hit and miss.
Mm-hmm. That's
By the
inside.
way, you know what it is? El Hilal were known for attacking football, but Inzaghi brings a mix of both worlds. This is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there will be games in which we'll be getting through it, but it'll be such a painful watch, bro. I can't lie. You know what? This season, listen, Inzaghi still my bro, because you know what it is. When Inzaghi gets it right, he gets it right. That's one thing I'll give him. When he gets it right, he gets it right. But
Mm-hmm.
my God, bro, like that's bro. The thing that bothers me, you have Ruben Neves, Ruben Neves. This brother is playing him as one of the 3 center backs. Why? Bro, you know, like we have, by the way, Gianni, we have the Saudi League is being broadcasted on like the streaming platform called Thamania. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Rio Ferdinand signed a contract with Thamania. Okay, and he's been paying visits for big games, and he paid the visit for Al Hilal Al Ittihad versus Al Hilal. Okay, we won 2-0 that day. Yeah, that wasn't the prettiest one, but we got the win anyway. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Ferdinand and Inzaghi are talking to each other. It's literally clipped, documented. And then Ferdinand asks, "Are we playing same way as you play at Inter Milan?" He's like, "Yes, yes, yes." Yeah. Then he said the only difference is he has Ruben Neves as one of the center backs because he's very intelligent. I'm like, brother, I knew you were doing this, because that's what I've been seeing, and it's been pathetic. From Club World Cup, you've been doing this, you know. But funny enough, we put him in midfield, and it's almost like this brother is actually maybe being a difference maker for the club, you know. Like, no shit, you get me. But yeah, Inzaghi has been making some weird calls. I actually blame him for Cancelo going to Barcelona as well.
Mm-hmm.
We should have never excluded him from the squad. I find it weird that we signed Pablo Mari just to all of a sudden announce that the guy alongside Nunes is now not part of the Saudi League squad and is a part of the Champions League elite squad. Like
Mhm.
it's very awkward to me. You know,
Mhm.
and again, it's another thing that makes it awkward. I mean, don't get it twisted. I'm happy Koulibaly extended his contract with Al Hilal. Don't get
My
it twisted.
guy, my former captain.
Listen,
My
brother,
guy.
that guy's my G blood. Even though last season he was annoying me, but this guy's my G blood for two out of 3 seasons performing game in game out, bro. You get me? Even though I mean, he'll have one or two off games, but he'll still turn up when it matters, unlike Coppa for Bart. So I mean, there you go. But yeah, listen. At the end of the day, bro, it's just like for me, it's odd that we announced his extension at the same time we announced that Pablo Mari is gonna be, excluded from the Saudi League squad. With Nunes, I understand and agree with 100% because Nunes is shit. There's a reason why we got Benzema anyway. Because big
Mhm.
ups to stop making sense. He's in the chat on
Yeah.
Twitter. Al Hilal fans were literally protesting for a striker. And so we were going on a striker hunt in January because our prince, one of our princes, Walid bin Talal, who's a Hilal fan, who's actually taking part of the stake of the club as well, by the way, 25%. Yeah, because he's a fan, it's almost like when you're a fan of a club and you care, you're actually going to do what it takes to win.
Mhm.
Ambition, you get me? So yeah, looking for a striker. And one thing I liked as well, we saw the Benzema situation at Al Ittihad. Boom, strike
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
And now Al Ittihad, they have Siri. Yeah, and they're linked to it's getting to a point now they're linked to Salah, brother. You know what I mean?
That guy ends in the city, boy. That motherfucker, overhyped. Not that good of a striker. A lot
I
of
think
people.
that World Cup goal against Portugal is what gave him a little stock. Because by the way, I follow Morocco as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
Nasiri, he's one of them brothers that can't finish for his life, but he'll give you like one
No,
odd moment.
that's the thing. A lot of people forget. And the series, the reason why Sevilla under Lopetegui didn't have a chance of winning La Liga. Sevilla ran Barcelona and Real Madrid those 2 years when Lopetegui was good with them after he won the Europa League all the way to the last, what was it? I think maybe match day 34 or 33. The last 4 or 5 games is when they fell apart because En-Nesyri just couldn't bag. If he was a consistent goal scorer, Sevilla would have had a chance of winning La Liga one of those 2 years. As crazy as it is, if you go back and look at the standings, they were missing a goal scorer because they were badass at defense. But yeah, as a finisher on the ground, he's not that good. Stop making sense is right. He is good in the air. On the ground, no. That guy sometimes can figure out how to miss a wide open net 5 yards out. It's fucking insanity with him.
But yeah, generally, like, by the way, I find Ronaldo complaining to be pathetic, by the way, and everyone eating it up is fucking pathetic as well.
He needs to retire, man. Stop
Yeah.
Bro, no, because you know what it is. By the way, all these Ronaldo fans, I'm not talking about the Nasser fans locally, because the Nasser fans locally will actually have more of an idea than the ones outside. Yeah, I'm talking mainly the ones outside. The ones outside, bro, they're like so obsessed with Ronaldo to the point that they don't even understand what's going on here. Bro, last summer, okay, his contract expired, right? And he had an opportunity to join Al Hilal. Not like I wanted him. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Yeah, because I know that when you play for Ronaldo, your system gets ruined, predictable, found out, blah blah blah. Bro, Northside will tell you all about with Portugal, right? And it's happening at the Nasser too, right? But anyway, for Ronaldo to stay at the club, he wanted the following. He wanted his own director, Simao Coutinho, got him. He wanted Jorge Jesus, the fraud with us at Al Hilal, the season prior, which he's the reason why we lost fair trophies last season. He got him, okay? And he wanted the likes of Felix, Inigo Martinez, and Kingsley Coman. Basically, he wanted his own players because obviously he didn't want them at the time of speaking to. But like, you get the point. He wanted his own players when he got the chance of making his choice, and he got all the players that he wanted. He got guarantees and he got the actions done. So when I hear people complain about, oh, Ronaldo is getting screwed over by the Saudi League and Hilal's getting favored, well, listen, I get it. Yeah, Al Hilal is the biggest club in Saudi, but people don't want to hear. Oh, no, Ronaldo's the biggest. Nasser's the biggest club because Ronaldo joined that club. People don't even understand why Ronaldo even joined the Nasser to begin with. Do you guys want to learn some history about why he joined the Nasser?
It wasn't for the money.
I'll tell you. Wait. He joined the Nasser instead of Al Hilal because Al Hilal got a transfer ban for an illegal local player that we signed.
Yeah. No, that yes.
Mohammed Kennu is still our player. Yeah, we got Mohammed Kennu illegally, right? And that's why we got a transfer ban, and that gave the Nasser the opening. Yes,
Mohammed Kano, Saudi international, right? Mohammed Kano.
Yes. That's why we got the transfer ban, and Ronaldo was able to join Al Nasser. But again, because obviously the broadcasting and the whole is westernized, they will never tell you this. They will never ever tell you this.
Yeah, man.
And that's the thing. Like, for all of that struggle, you still managed to become a much more successful team than Al Nassr during all of the time that Ronaldo has been in Saudi. He hasn't. I don't think he's won a single trophy except maybe one. I think probably might have been your version of the Community Shield or something. I'm not too sure, but he's been an absolute failure. And even now, the fact that he's holding the club to ransom, my guess is he's going to retire from international football, and just in time, because Jose Mourinho will be taking charge of the Portugal team.
Take no shit from him either.
And that's the thing. So he'll probably end Ronaldo's career for him, because there's no way he's going to allow him to, dictate the agenda. There's going to be a huge personality clash, and Mourinho will say, sorry, I'm not interested in that. And so once he retires from Portugal, I don't think there's any other club that's going to want to, be associated with him. People still would.
One of them stupid teams in America in the MLS may try their hand at him just to get some extra viewership and money.
Oh, for Pete's sake. I mean, look, Lionel Messi is already with Inter Miami. He's left a wonderful impact there. And they still want Ronaldo to go over there. Mm-hmm. Do they have no shame? Jesus Christ.
Money. That's what it is. And just to wrap it up with this, DG, I saw that whole fucking thing this morning. Jim Ratcliffe is a fucking idiot. He's a fucking idiot. First of all, never mix sports with politics in general in the first place, in my personal opinion. But for you to be an owner and say that stupid thing with the amount of foreign talent that's on Manchester United, and just in general, the amount of good foreign talent that's in the Premier League, you're a fucking idiot for saying that when you're part owner of Manchester United. Just know when to shut the fuck up and keep your opinions to yourself if you're going to be that guy.
Yeah, agreed. His real name should be Jim Ratbastard. Sorry for the language.
No, you're 100%. Listen, I've been swearing the whole time. I don't care. Ratcliffe's a fucking idiot. So on that note, guys, me and Manny will be on with Rashid for the Arsenal pregame show against Brentford. Hopefully Arsenal's going to get this win today, because I need some positivity, because Napoli done pissed me to fuck off with all this stupid shit. Conte out. Big up Manny. Manny, do you got anything going on with your channel coming up? And shout your channel out, my guy, and appreciate it.
I don't really have much of a channel. There is one, video which I posted, but it's a sort of a near 2-hour-long critique of of a season finale of a famous US TV show. It's not really worth watching. I might decide to do some stuff later on, maybe add a little bit more, but you will be the first to know. It's not really a channel at all. But if you want to get in touch with me, it's always on social media. It's Manny Fangadorai 1981 on Instagram and Threads, Fangadorai 1981 on Twitter. Zir's already following me on Instagram, and we're actually both a part of the same Instagram football chat group. So I would, I'll tell you what, Gianni, if you are interested, I mean, I'm not too sure that you go for all of these group chats these days, but if you are, then I'd be happy to add you. But if you're not, that's not an issue at all. And like I said, I'll see you there on Rashid's stream.
Yeah, we'll exchange once we finish the show, because I'll get you on for an episode 2 of who you would pay to see on the 11. I'm trying to get everybody on for this because I'm just enjoying the show right now. And Zir, my guy, appreciate you hopping on. We will be in conversation. We will be getting this, because I got a good little Bundesliga 11 that I want to share with you, just because I used to love the Bundesliga back in the day, but it's you know what it is, man. FFP's ruined football in general. And
the distribution of money in the Bundesliga is wrong, man.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been saying this, but it's a 50 that's like 50 plus one, and then on top of the fact of like Bayern gets all the money and everybody else. No, and then if you are out of the 50 plus one, you're limited to like the amount of spending you can do.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a complicated one, I can't lie.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is what it is, bro. You know what I mean?
You got anything coming up on your channel, my guy?
I mean, so I have 3 channels. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
aware,
Yep.
or anyone's aware. So I have Zero Talks Football. I'll do the watch along for the Barca Atleti game on the football channel. I might do a stream later tonight for Bayern. I'm thinking about doing that. And then I obviously have a wrestling channel. But other than those, like, yeah, nothing much really happening other than maybe Bayern games coming up I need to talk about. And yeah, I mean, I'm doing the Barca Atleti watch along and Hilal as well on the football channel as well. I'm gonna cover that tomorrow as well. So when we play Letifach against Genie Wijnaldum and that, you get me. So
Sounds good, my guy. But everybody, appreciate everybody that's been here from the start. Appreciate everybody that came over with Taryn BBK's raid. Shout out to BBK every single fucking time. And yeah, man, we're gonna wrap. That's it for the show. And maybe I'll do a little match reaction show afterwards, but we'll see what happens. But besides that, guys, have a blessed day. Come on, you Gunners. Conte, get the fuck out.